Yes, we are back. San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer, Sammy Long, Brent Sperry hanging out. We've got the Brian Dutcher Show coming up at 6 p.m. here tonight. There is a lot to get into over the next 4 hours here in San Diego on 760. Here's where I want to start, and you might be surprised. So, is anyone keeping an eye on the Padres score right now?
Yeah, it's like 17-0, right?
No, it's actually more than that. The Padres this afternoon have scored 20 runs in 5 innings. Now, the reason I bring this up, they're playing Seattle. Obviously, it's a must-win game. But
Ryder Cup.
Yeah, you know what? That thing's done.
I was ripping that earlier.
It's done.
I hate that.
Yeah, I'm done with it because it's done. The Padres played the Cubs in the postseason, and Eddie Vedder is there in a Cubs uniform. It's done. Right?
Yeah. Well, also, again, I lived in Seattle for 3 years. I have friends who are diehard Mariner fans. I have never heard them once go, I hate the Padres. I've never heard that. It's not a rivalry.
Point. It's a great point. You can't force something on people. It's such a good point. Like, to me, Dodgers-Padres isn't forced. And I get Dodgers-Giants, the dynamic. I mean, you're talking about New York to California and their histories. Okay, that's fine. But Padres-Dodgers has been a great series. You could argue the merits of a rivalry, but it's been a damn good baseball series. The reason I bring this up, Padres are leading the Mariners. Now they both play in Peoria, 20-4, but the Padres are on the quote unquote road, like the visiting team.
Yeah.
But here's why I bring it up. I just saw this tweet that I got tagged into from @PCFlippen, FLIPPEN. And he tagged Jesse Adler, who calls the games, right? Padres games. And this guy says most runs scored in a Cactus League game. The widely cited record is 27. What's interesting is the team that did it was Seattle against San Diego. So it's almost like they're getting maybe payback here. Now, I don't know when this game was. 2002. In 2002, the Mariners scored 27 runs. They won 27-11. Remember that game?
Yeah.
When they won.
when I was you were 3 months old.
So anyway, the Padres today have scored 20 runs in a spring training game. We have not, by and large, for the 2 weeks the games have been played this year, reference anything that happens in a game, right? Because it means literally nothing, obviously. I will say this. When I look at a box score and I see Jay Cronenworth 3 for 3 and Jackson Merrill 3 for 4 and Ramon Laureano 2 for 4 and Nick Castellanos 2 for 3 and Miguel Andahar 2 for 3 and Ty France 2 for 3 and Sun Moon Song with hits and Freddie Fermin has 6 RBIs. I'm like, I'll take it. Like that's my takeaway in spring training. Again, they could be hitless here today. I won't have a peep come out of my mouth if they went hitless here today. But 3 weeks out, literally 3 weeks from today, the Padres will be playing. They're without Machado, Tatis, all these stars right now for the WBC. That's how I look at spring training. Like, hey, if something good happens, it's good, and if something bad happens, it's all good as long as you stay healthy.
Right, health is the biggest thing. I mean, it's great that the Padres are. I mean, rather have that than them not hitting at all. But it is so hard to get a gauge because some teams are playing their guys, some teams aren't.
Yeah, it means nothing.
And the WBC, you have a lot of stars that are out. I mean, we're seeing over the last week, Great Britain playing the Giants and the Dodgers played Mexico yesterday. I mean, it's kind of funny that what's all happening out there, but hey, it's nice to see that those guys were performing because last week there was a little concern that when Machado and Tatis weren't in the lineup, they weren't necessarily performing. But yeah, I think you can't really read too much into it either way. However they play.
You can read nothing into it. Walker Buehler did start today for San Diego. This is one of these names that obviously is going to be relevant because maybe he makes the team out of camp. Maybe he doesn't. Does that mean, he's elsewhere in Major League Baseball if he doesn't make the team out of camp? Here's what's more important. It's so funny because we start by saying, 20 runs and all these hits. What's more important is Walker Buehler. And because Walker Buehler has to be built up, he's coming off multiple injuries. He pitched effectively late last year. Can he get back there? 3 innings, 2 runs today for Walker Buehler. Again, it's not an indictment or a statement either way, but 3 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts, 1 walk for Buehler, who again I think the encouraging thing is he's being built up. He threw 3 innings here today. I don't know how many, 47 pitches.
And the thing with Buehler in his time with the Dodgers the last couple of years and then, bounced around Red Sox, Phillies, he actually has his strikeout numbers are okay. It still kind of has some put away pitches.
Yeah.
The problem the last couple of years where he hasn't been what he was 5-6 years ago is the home run ball has really hit him. And when they've gotten after him fast and in bunches. I kind of equate it a little bit to how we saw Dylan Cease and Yu Darvish at times last year. It would feel like Dylan Cease was on his way to having a great performance. Couple innings in, he'd mow through the first round, the order, and then you would get to the second time through, and it just felt like it was batting practice at times, and it was tough to watch. That is kind of the thing I want to see early on this year. Can Walker Buehler avoid the home run ball? But it really feels like it's his job to lose, because with Griffin Canning being sidelined right now,
Achilles,
JP Sears, Matt Waldron for external circumstances, not able to be pitching. And if the conversation comes down to German Marquez or Walker Buehler, I think Walker Buehler certainly has the inside track in that regard.
As you were speaking, the Padres have scored another run. I mean, it's that kind of day. Tirso Ornelas, or Nellis, however you say it, has homered 21-4 San Diego over Seattle in spring training in the Cactus League. Again, 3 weeks out. I'm with you. I think in terms of Walker Buehler, there's so much intrigue. Everyone here is so familiar with what he's done, obviously, specifically with the Dodgers. And that the one most discussed spot on their roster that isn't determined is their number 5 spot in the rotation. It's not, who's the second catcher. And I'm sure all this has to be determined. Like who's your last bench piece? Who's your 5th outfielder? You know what I mean? But like what matters most? The guy you're going to see 30 times on the mound, potentially, that could have a good year or a bad year, or could be any number of 5 or 6 or 7 different players. I think the number 5 spot in the rotation is probably the most intriguing thing that's been discussed the most this February and March. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, because especially after last season, because it felt like we talked about the overuse of the bullpen. It got to a point last season where if a Padres starter went 5 innings, it was like a big deal. It was like that was a successful night, whether they won or not, because there was just not a lot of length coming from a lot of the pitchers not named Nick Pivetta. Walker Buehler, I know it's early to be playoffs, can they even get to the playoffs? But when we talk about them signing Walker Buehler, the one thing is take all the pitchers outside of Joe Musgrove, Nick Pivetta, Michael King in postseasons. Not that they haven't been there and haven't pitched in some of them, but when we talk about trust and faith in big moments, you do look at Musgrove, and then you would kind of look to Walker Buehler, because even though Walker Buehler a couple of years ago, his numbers weren't great outside of I believe it was the Game 3 start against the Padres won, because Tatis hit that grand slam. He was amazing in that playoff run. And if we remember, the Dodgers had a couple infield errors, which really led to him giving up the long ball to Tatis. You look at Musgrove and Buehler, even if Buehler is not the same guy that he once was when he was the Dodgers ace, I mean, that's a guy you could at least throw out there in the postseason, and you feel like you kind of go down with your shield because he is a guy who's been there before, versus throwing out a no-name guy where it's like you're on your hands and knees praying that he can get through a couple innings.
It's interesting you say that. It's like, what's the value of experience? Even if you aren't at the peak of your career, in your prime anymore. I mean, pitching's different because primes can be changed based on pitching injuries. That's less relevant with hitters. It's like typically if you tear your knee and your Tatis is a 24-year-old, it shouldn't really impact you as a 25-year-old. But if you tear your elbow, now maybe it's multiple years. Now guys come back strong off Tommy John. I mean, there's a zillion examples. You tear your shoulder, that could be your career. I mean, it's hard to come back from a shoulder tear in baseball. But I'm with you. I'm betting on the experience of Buehler. I'm betting on the experience of Musgrove. I'm betting on the experience of Michael King. But I'm not necessarily betting on their they may not be completely in their primes because they're coming off injuries and they're different to different extents. I mean, Buehler's had crazy injuries, right? Multiple-time Tommy John.
Also 2-time Tommy John.
So, I mean, that's tough. And then you got Musgrove, significant injury, Tommy John. King, I don't even know. I don't equate it to be an arm injury that he dealt with last year, but I do we even know?
It was a freak. Remember, he was rolled over in bed or something.
Related, but that's even odd though. But as you kind of talk through it, how do you miss 3 months because of a back or a neck or whatever it was?
And with King, I think everyone's excited about what King can be, because we've seen King in a Padres uniform look like a bona fide ace. We've also seen last year, it felt like a lot of it, again, was due to the injury and not just availability is the best ability, but it's a lot of projections. Outside of Nick Pivetta, because Buehler's getting up there in age, dealt with injuries. King's dealt with injuries. And then you have the big question mark with Musgrove, who you have a lot of trust in, but coming off a massive injury, is he the same player? Outside of Nick Pivetta, there's really major question marks with every pitcher. Yeah. And even Nick Pivetta, I guess the question is, can he replicate what he did last year when he had the best season of his career?
Yeah, the interesting thing is, like, I guess there's a world out there where, like, Randy Vasquez has as good of a year as anyone in the rotation. And now you may say, well, that's not encouraging. Or you may say that means Randy Vasquez takes a huge step forward and becomes one of the better pitchers in the National League. Maybe that's aggressive based on what we saw last year, but his velocity is way up over the last 12 months. And I do think that's encouraging, but that therein lies the problem with the Padres. The problem is we don't know their true floor because of their rotation. As in, their ceiling, I think, remains high. They could exceed expectations. If King and Musgrove throw 150 innings, I think it's feasible. I think guys come back off Tommy John could throw 150 innings. Michael King said he'd throw 180 innings his first year in San Diego. I scoffed at that. He threw 180 innings. So, like, again, Pivetta, if he's Pivetta, Vasquez, if he's improved, there's a world in which you are really potentially exceeding your expectation. But there's another world in which these injuries are tough to overcome in the short term. It's not to say Joe Musgrove can't have another productive year. It's not to say Michael King can't get back to where he was in 2024. But what if they don't in 2026? Where are you turning? That's the issue for me.
Your point about Vasquez. Is Randy Vasquez the easiest pitcher to watch? No, he gives up a lot of runners on the base path, runners, yep. lot of pressure, yep. And you feel like a pitcher like that in a high pressure game, things can go south very fast. But I said a few minutes ago, best availability is availability, and we talk about. I mean, how many times have we seen Verlander and some of these like? And I'm not comparing Randy Vasquez to Justin Verlander, but Verlander, Chris Bassett.
Vasquez has had a better career, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen teams go after aging pitchers, Max Scherzer, that can be excellent in single game spots, but are not helping you over the course of a season. If you're a Dodgers, if you're a Mets, if you're a Yankees, where you feel like you're pretty safe and that you're going to make the playoffs, and you're like, we need a guy that we can trust in a game 5 of a series, I get it. But there's a lot to be said about a guy in Randy Vasquez that, although he's not the best pitcher, it's not the sexiest pitcher, it's not the most exciting name to throw out there on the mound on a Friday night at Petco, he does eat up a lot of innings for you in the middle of the year, and with a rotation there's massive injury concerns with multiple pitchers on it. Randy Vasquez deserves some flowers for this season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And here's my question just off the top of the show. If anyone wants to weigh in, 877-767-4760 or text us. 70470, start it with the word team. But again, 877-767-4760 or text us. 70470, start it with the word team. If you were going to bet one way or the other, would you bet the Padres exceed expectations or fall short? Simple question, not the simplest answer. If you were betting one way or the other, are they exceeding expectations or falling short in 2026? Plus, you, Sammy, just made me think of something that's very important that I will share with you. On the other side, plus the Aztecs getting ready for senior night tomorrow night at Viejas Arena. What is on the line for San Diego State and what remains a possibility for the Aztecs after last night in the Mountain West. Stay with us here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. We do have a guest joining us at 3:30, Kendra D. St. Aubin. She works for Apple TV as an analyst. SDFC is 2-0. They're playing Sporting Kansas City this upcoming weekend. We'll talk to Kendra D. St. Aubin coming up at 3:30. We also want to remind you that we do have great giveaways today. We've got tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, and we've got tickets to the BNP Paribas Open. The new Elephant Valley at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park is now open. You can get up close and roam alongside the world's largest land animals. All week, we have chances for you to win a family 4-pack of tickets to see Elephant Valley. The elephants aren't the only ones who'll never forget Elephant Valley at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. Isn't it interesting that elephants are the largest land animals? The reason I say this is a weird thing to discuss. Dinosaurs, right? You know, these.
Yeah.
They were around. Were those land animals?
I'd assume so.
You would call them land animals, right? Like a T-Rex.
Yeah, because he's walking around on land.
I mean, if an elephant's a land animal, but think about it, like the size of a brontosaurus compared to the largest land animal right now, an elephant. Like a brontosaurus is running circles around an elephant. Wouldn't it make an elephant look like a mouse?
So you're saying there's false advertising?
No, it's the largest living land mammal. But I'm trying to think about like how big were dinosaurs in perspective to these.
That's a great
massive animals.
Because technically we don't know, but archaeologists
there's like
can
bones,
figure it
right?
out. Yeah, because they can figure it out from bones. They have big bones.
Brent, can you Google how? Like, I need to know that because how big was a brontosaurus compared to an elephant? It's like an AI.
Is a brontosaurus a thing? Is it Tyrannosaurus?
Right. You know a brontosaurus, the ones that eat leaves.
No.
Brent,
was this from Jurassic Park?
Brontosaurus? Am I crazy?
What is a brontosaurus?
No, brontosaurus.
Brontosaurus.
Did you graduate from college?
I went to San Diego State. Yes. Excuse me.
This thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
I mean,
I gotta get up on my
point to make
dinosaur knowledge.
Let me just quickly Google how. What'd you Google?
A brontosaurus was slightly larger than a modern African elephant, generally weighing about 15 to 20 tons. Let's see, 2.5 to 3 times the mass of an average 6.5 ton bull elephant.
Normal Height says you guys never been to a museum or anything. LOL. Apparently I haven't because I didn't know what a brontosaurus was.
It's an interesting point because now that I Googled it, the largest dinosaur was roughly the weight of 10 to 14 elephants.
What is the largest dinosaur?
It's hard for me to, Argentinosaurus weighed roughly 70 tons. Anyway, go to the San Diego Safari Park. They don't have dinosaurs, but they do have elephants.
Maybe they do.
I mean, again, it's just, the idea of dinosaurs is completely fascinating. Anyway, here's what I wanted to mention to you, and I do want to get to the Aztecs, and we will. So I noticed, I looked at Sammy 15 minutes ago, and I'm like, oh yeah, Sammy wears glasses. Obviously, Brent wears glasses as well. I'm calling these games right now, dude, with San Diego State, and I can't see.
Really?
I mean, I can see the floor. What's it called when you can't read something right in front of your face?
Nearsighted, or you're farsighted.
Yeah, so I need to. Now, I grew up in my 20s. I wore glasses.
Really?
Believe it or not. But then I had LASIK when I was about 30, and then for 15 years because I'm now 45, perfect vision, no issues, nighttime driving, like whatever it's called. The
farsight, you can see far away from you
perfectly. See everything, but I can. Boom! I see the 600 Kogo 100 feet away on a wall. Okay, but and I can see this size font on this piece of paper, but like
the stats they give you at the games are small,
dude. And I'm noticing on my sheets, like my boards that I'm printing out, that I spend all this time on. I'm not using anything here because I'm noticing that like I'm struggling. I think in that capacity. So my point is, I need to get glasses.
What made you go away from glasses? Did you were like
I was when you got glasses guy?
Okay, so you were like, I want to get LASIK because I don't want to wear glasses every day.
I hated contacts.
Okay.
I hate the idea of it. The idea of touching your eye.
It freaks me out
absolutely
too.
Hated it.
Yeah.
Never did that. I've tried it, but I mean, only dozens of times in my life. Now, never routinely did it. And glasses, I'm like, I don't know. I mean, this is 15 plus years ago. I just wasn't. I was like my 20s wearing glasses. Now you're in your 20s wearing glasses. And it's definitely socially acceptable.
It's socially acceptable. I'm going to get clowned for this, but I can't wear contacts because apparently my doctor told me my eyes are shaped like footballs.
That's what I have, astigmatism.
Okay, I had a bad stigmatism. I had to wear an eye patch, not at school, luckily. That would have been social suicide.
An eye patch.
And at home, I had to they made me play video games, watch sports and things.
They made you play video games? Like, you have to cure this, play video games.
No, because they wanted stuff that would stimulate your eye and have rapid eye movement, but you had to cover one of them.
Do you struggle?
You had lazy eye.
I almost had a lazy eye.
Do you struggle with nighttime driving? Because
No.
they say people with astigmatisms, football shaped eyes, like I have as well, you get like the halo effect sometimes at night. Other lights of cars coming at you or around you. And it's like a halo's coming off them. Anyway, LASIK got rid of all of that, dude, immediately.
So I've thought about LASIK, but I've worn glasses my whole life. So
I would do it. No question.
The surgery I gotta like kind of freaks me out a little bit.
4 seconds each eye.
4 seconds.
Yeah, it's just like they put something like over top your face and like it's like zzz, zzz. They like cut something and it's done. You don't feel it. They've numbed your eyes. I was freaked out, but the guy assured me that basically no one's ever gone blind from LASIK surgery. And they do it, and it's not like you don't know if it works. Your eyes, then you close your eyes. He's like, open your eyes. Can you see? Yes. Then you close your eyes for basically 24 hours, the rest of the day. And then you use drops obsessively in your eyes for about a year, but it's like starts every hour.
Will you close your eyes for a full day?
The day you have it done, yeah. Because your eyes need like the moisture of like inside your like eyelids. But it's cool. It's not like you have to. You're just basically like maybe sleeping.
Okay.
Maybe open them up to have like a bowl of soup and then you go back to like you're basically supposed to really chill, like be in a dark room for 24 hours.
Okay.
Next day, open your eyes, go to work. You put drops in every hour for the first month, then every 2 hours for the second month, and so on and so forth. I've had no issues for 15 years, other than the fact that I can't read anymore. But
so,
anyway, I'm a fan.
Okay, I gotta consider it.
No, not consider. You got to do because you're the perfect candidate. Young, so you got 20 plus years before you'll need reading glasses, and then you also have an astigmatism, and I think it cures some of the effects of that.
Oh.
I don't know how we got here. Anyway, my point is
you were saying you can't see at San Diego State games, so
No, I can. I don't like to put it like that, but I can't. There's some things I'm trying to reference at times where I'm like, like it's a little fuzzy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
So
where I'm getting by, but
we gotta get you some sleek glasses.
That's what I'm saying.
Should we go glasses shopping?
Yeah, forget the show.
yeah.
We need a glasses
Lens crafters. Here we come.
Exactly. All right. Tomorrow is senior night for the Aztecs. It's senior night for my eyes as well. We'll get into what's on the line for San Diego State on the other side here until 6 p.m. Brian Dutcher show coming up at 6. Dutch wears glasses, right? Most people do.
People are recommending places to go on the text line.
I love that. If you have a place that I should go. Now, here's the other thing. Do you go with Meta glasses?
Is that okay? I don't know what Meta I've seen the commercials. What are Meta glasses?
Brent, you're shocked he doesn't know, right? It's like AI glasses. I mean, they have video. They look like glasses, but you can like record video. You might be able to even listen to audio depending on how they are.
See, that's way too much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I don't need that on my face. But if you could
record video, would you want it?
No.
I could be courtside calling.
I have a phone. I can just sit here and record something.
Good point. Brent, would you wear them?
It would replace your phone though.
Yeah, but I don't need AI on my face.
Would you wear them, Brent, if you were just given them?
Yeah, if I was just given them, yeah.
I mean, they look great. They look like it's like Ray-Ban, Oakley. Like the brands are the same brands that make sunglasses.
They were that commercial with Chris Hemsworth and
so we got the snake,
Guardians of the Galaxy when they're at the museum and they're like, "Oh, Meta, tell me about this painting," and then they like tell them all that stuff.
Okay,
so it'd be like having your phone. Only, if you're driving and you saw something, you're not gonna pull your phone out while you're driving, but you could just look and
Yeah, see, I feel like
it would have advantages.
We're distracted by our phones so much, though.
It's so true.
And do we need that on our face?
It's a great question. All right, Aztec Senior Night. What's on the line? We're discussing up next on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by the Brad versus Everyone podcast. In NFL news, the Bills are sending a second-round pick to the Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is scheduled to make a base salary of $23.5 million this season. In NBA news, Celtics superstar Jason Tatum is expected to make his NBA season debut tomorrow night against Dallas. Tatum's return comes less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. The Aztec head coach will talk with Jon about tomorrow night's senior night game against UNLV and more. Dangerous social media trends, media scandals, dumb TikTok boycotts, and more. Keep up with all the online stories mainstream media ignores by listening to the Brad versus Everyone podcast on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
A lot of people weighing in on this glasses talk. This is an interesting point from Alicia on YouTube. Alicia just says, Jon, you need reading glasses. You can buy, she says 1% at CVS and be good. Maybe she means that they're like $5.
They're like on the rack when you're checking out with the candy.
I feel like if I buy those, I'm going to look like I'm 71.
You get the little
because they're like
necklace.
They're like $4. Like they're not going to be like cool. Not that I need like.
Would you rather look cool or be able to read?
Great point by Brent.
And the thing with reading glasses,
like your mom or something.
Do you only use them when reading?
Yes, hence they're called reading glasses.
You gotta get sleek glasses for everyday use.
And by the way, 619 said, Jon, come see us at New View Optometric.
New View.
5-star on Yelp, daily listeners to the show. So I said, yeah, I'll swing by. I'd love to.
I might need to swing by too because I just scratched my glasses. It's driving me crazy.
And then someone else, 760, says the Meta glasses are awesome. Hands-free calling and being able to listen to music while working without having earbuds in and being able to hear others is amazing. You can also mute notifications. Great pickup with my prescription.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people that have weighed in here. Okay, so hopefully later on today, we'll find some of the sound from Brian Dutcher, Miles Bird, and Reese Dixon Waters. Tomorrow is senior night for San Diego State FVA House Arena. We've gone through this 1,000 times. They obviously haven't played their best basketball here recently. They've lost 4 or 5. The but in this conversation is because of results around them, and they touched on this today, Dutch and the players, because of the results around them. If they beat UNLV tomorrow, it is an if. UNLV has played some crazy games and has absurd talent and one of the best players, one of the best scorers in the nation right now, and Dre Gibbs Lawhorn. He's been insane, out of his mind, this guard. But if they beat UNLV, they'll be favored to do it. If New Mexico goes to Utah State on the final day of the regular season, that's this Saturday, and beats Utah State in Logan, again, tall task, then you got a 3-way tie for first place in the league. San Diego State, at that point, technically has a regular season share of the Mountain West, which is banner worthy. Now, they're not the 1 seed in that scenario. I think they're actually the 3 seed in that scenario. But they're still playing. That's kind of crazy. They've lost 4 of 5. Every time they lose, people are like, they're not going to win a Mountain West regular season. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament. Now, yeah, their at-large chances are obviously pretty much out the window. At this point, at large, they'd have to get in by winning the Mountain West tournament. But I think all teams are motivated by a chance to potentially claim a share of a conference title. And they at least have that. They'll put pressure on Utah State, essentially. Nah, actually not. Well, how about this? By winning tomorrow, they remain alive to potentially share a Mountain West title.
How much do you think that matters? Because I think it's cool. I think it's great. But
it's a great question.
At San Diego State,
I love that question.
I feel like for Utah State and for other schools like this, I think it's a big deal. Yep. For San Diego State, a team that was in literally the NCAA championship game and 4 minutes away from hanging a banner, I think hanging a share of a conference title is something to celebrate. You work hard all offseason to try to win your league. But tomorrow, for me personally, watching this team is about getting some momentum because it really feels like you don't know what team's showing up. If the team that shows up against Utah State at home a week ago, they can run through the Mountain West Conference tournament. That team played with full energy for 40 minutes. Everyone got involved. They were rebounding the basketball well. If the team that showed up the other night that gets out rebounded 37-15, it's pretty hard to predict that they're going to go on a run here next week and win 3 games in 3 days. So tomorrow for me is more about can you get a little momentum heading into next week, a little like positivity with the team? But I am with you. I mean, it's great. I'm not trying to diminish if they have a share of a regular season title. I just wonder if you're the Aztecs, if it's less important to you that versus other teams, considering the amount of success State has had the last few years.
So funny you say that, and I'm actually really glad you went there. And I didn't know if you would, and I wasn't even thinking about it. But one of the big debates I've had over the 9 seasons I've covered San Diego State, and seeing how other people cover the Mountain West and the way San Diego State fans, like what they prioritize with San Diego State, is that, you know what? It's about more than just your league. It's about what you do in the NCAA tournament, right? Where Utah State winning a conference championship, I feel like, is more meaningful. It's not to disparage them. It's just at San Diego State, they've had so much success that I think most Aztec fans would prefer to be the 5th seed in the Mountain West tournament. Not most. Everyone should prefer this. I'd rather be the 5th seed in the Mountain West tournament and make the Sweet 16. Isn't that what they did in 2024?
Right.
They went to the Sweet 16 as a 5 seed in their own league.
Right.
So, hey, listen, I'd love to have both. You'd love to have your cake
of course,
and eat it too.
Of
you
course.
win your league. I mean, look at 2023. Was that I get these all confused. Was that a double, so to speak? They won the regular season championship the year they went to a national championship game.
Yeah.
They won the conference tournament, didn't they? In 2023, who'd they beat?
Who did they beat in that game?
They run all together. They've played in 7 title games the last 8 years.
I compare it to this. Selection Sundays here, what? 2 Sundays from Sunday.
They beat Utah State, by the way.
They beat Utah State. When you look at Selection Sunday, and I feel like the Aztecs have elevated into this category. You see when North Carolina gets in, and Duke and UCLA and Kansas, it's a golf clap. When they show the live cameras in, it's like, yeah, we expected to be here. And it's great when you see Furman get in and they're throwing a party and the whole school's going crazy. Usually the teams that are throwing a party when they get announced into March Madness go home the first weekend. Usually, not always. Sometimes we see some Cinderella runs, but that's usually what happens. San Diego State this weekend, whereas to your point, Utah State, because they haven't had success on the big stage in March Madness at the level that the Aztecs have, a conference tournament title to them is a much bigger deal than San Diego State. And I think all fans would agree with this. To your point, if they're a 5 seed next week and they don't win the Mountain West regular season title, but they're playing in March Madness 2 weeks from now, any fan would take that over what has happened, a regular season title and not playing in March Madness.
And honestly, now that we've talked through this, listen, all things being equal, if you can get a share of it, we're all going to take it. However, here's a point I would make. Again, and I know the answer. I mean, it's a what's the word called when you know the answer to a question, Brent?
Rhetorical question.
It's rhetorical. Thank you, Sammy. See that education paying off, by the way, at San Diego State.
SDSU, baby.
But how about this? What if you don't get a share, but your seeding draws you a better path through the mountain?
That's the other part of this.
How about listen to this insanity? You share it, you're the 3 seed. You lose it, you're the 2. That's accurate. That's 99% accurate. There's a million results that could even change it. I even think there's a complete crazy inside straight draw where they're the top seed. It's based on other results that don't have to do with these 3 teams. I don't think it's going to happen. It's to do with Fresno State winning at Grand Canyon, I believe. But this year in the Mountain West,
right, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So my point is, do you want a share of it and the 3 seed, or do you want second place and the 2 seed? But it's a long way of me saying, I don't care about the seed. It's more important to me, the matchup. And I don't even know what matchup I want because the league is so darn competitive.
We were talking about that earlier. I mean, you think based off this year's performance, and now it's the counter argument to this, it's tough to beat a team 3 times. Nevada is a team that the Aztecs have had their number. I think Utah State, despite them going 1-1, even the Aztecs on the road played really well in that game. I think over the 2 games, the Aztecs have outplayed Utah State. They obviously took them apart on their home court. The team you circle that you don't want, and maybe the Aztecs want to have some get back against them, but Grand Canyon obviously is a bad matchup for the Aztecs. From what we've seen this year,
from what we've seen,
it hasn't looked great. They've had big leads in both games.
Although that first game was right there, but you're right, they came back.
Right, and I'm not saying they can't beat Grand Canyon, but to your point, is a regular season title more important, or is drawing more of a favorable run in the Mountain West Conference tournament more important? Personally, I think drawing a more favorable run in the Mountain West Conference tournament is much more important to me than it is to split a regular season title.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Brian Dutcher at 6 p.m. Brian Dutcher Show coming up on San Diego Sports 760. And we'll see if we can hear Miles Bird had some fascinating things to say today about this upcoming.
I loved it.
He had an amazing quote that I'm going to try to find the audio of and share with our listeners coming up later on today. We'll get back to the Padres as well. Can they set a Cactus League record for most runs scored in a game? That's a tease. Don't go anywhere, right? Can the Padres set a Cactus League record for most runs scored in a game? They've added on again against the Mariners. Plus great giveaways. This is San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760 here until the Brian Dutcher show at 6 p.m. So you can settle in. Sammy Long hanging out here for the first hour or two of the show. We're talking SDFC coming up at 3:30 here today. Kendra D. St. Aubin, the first female lead analyst in Major League Soccer history. She's with Apple TV now. She'll join us. She's on the call actually this weekend for Kansas City and SDFC. So we'll discuss that match coming up at 3:30, and we're talking Padres and Aztecs and more as well. So I mentioned off the top of the show, Sammy, that the Padres, the only reason you bring it up today is like, what is going on in Peoria? At one point, they had a 10-run inning. At another point, it was then like 17-3, and then it's 21 runs we mentioned. They've added on since. They have scored 24 runs today. The game is still being played right now. They're batting in the eighth inning, in the top of the eighth inning, and leading 24-4. I mentioned something to you, I think, at a break, and I believe this is correct. Someone could check me on it, 70470, start it with team. I think it's more rare to score in every inning of a baseball game than it is to throw a perfect game. Now, the Padres have scored 24 runs, and they haven't scored in every inning of this game. They didn't score in the first, but they've scored now in 6 consecutive innings heading into the eighth. But 24 runs you don't see every day. I would say save this maybe for the regular season, but I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, isn't that crazy? You could score like 30 runs in a game, but you're still not going to score. The odds of scoring in every single inning are so absurdly ridiculous in a baseball game.
Right. We were talking about it. You would have to be the road team for playing the ninth inning.
Innings, yep.
And then, because you think baseball is such a sport. I mean, how many times as a fan have we all been watching and your team's up, 2 runs, and it's really about when do they get to pitch again to try to get through these outs. Yep. And not that some teams aren't putting pressure on, but
you're right. Yeah,
you've seen it in July. It's late at night. They're going through the motions, trying to get out of the game. Yeah, to score in 9 straight innings is pretty crazy because the game would have to be competitive. The pitchers would have to be awful, and I feel like the other team would have to keep it close. So you have the urgency to score. Look at that.
They just hit a 2-run home run. I mean, this is it. They've scored in 7 consecutive innings. Someone on Twitter said the Cactus League record for most runs scored in a game, we don't know if it's accurate or not, is 27 by the Mariners against the Padres. And today the Padres have scored 26.
That's how you make Sports Center.
By scoring 30 runs.
Scoring 30 runs, you get to make Sports Center.
They're 10 for 23 with runners in scoring position. Look at this home runs list. Sun Moon Song, Jay Cronenworth, Freddie Fermin. Who else? Jackson Merrill, Miguel Andujar, Tirso Ornelas.
What do you think?
Who else?
What do you think?
Nick Schnell.
What do you think the bullpen, the pitching coach is going down there and saying to Seattle, like,
to the Mariners?
Hey guys,
tomorrow's going to be better.
Tomorrow it literally cannot get any worse.
Dude, looking at these pitching, the Mariners have allowed 28 hits. Okay, they're playing in the top of the 8th inning. The Padres have scored 26 runs. Hey, this is the theme of the day, Sammy. In play, no out. Padres at the plate. In play, no outs.
Some serious stat padding.
What was that started by Luis Castillo?
What was that game last year that the Padres beat the Rockies? Was it 19-0?
Was there last year?
Remember there was
Rockies lost a lot of games by last year.
there was the one because I remember getting updates. I was like, what is going on out there? But yeah, they had some game like this.
It's funny because, again, in a regular season, you could have a game where someone scores 20-something runs, right? Like in this regular season coming up, could someone score 20-something runs? Sure. In one game, there'll be someone scoring 20-something runs. But like, what's the Padres record for most runs scored in a regular season game? Like, dude, you don't see 26 runs every day. Like I don't care if it's WBC and Great Britain is playing. By the way, when is the U.S. playing? They're open
tomorrow. They're playing Brazil at 5, I believe.
And there's already been games that have been played now, right? Last night there was a game with Australia.
Yes, because I was looking at gambling odds trying to get a leg up. The U.S. is an even money favorite at -110.
To win it all?
To win it all.
Oh, I thought you were going to say tomorrow.
No. Tomorrow they're a massive favorite to win it all. Japan, I believe, is +400, +350, and the Dominican Republic is +350.
Okay, but the U.S. plays tomorrow against whom?
Brazil.
And that's the Tariq Skubal game?
I believe so, yeah.
And I spent we talked about me and you, but I spent 2 days ripping this. I mean, so Skubal's going to make one appearance. He's going to face Brazil, face Japan, dude.
Well, yeah. Okay,
we don't need you a pool play.
That's a great point.
Like if we can't beat the Brazilian national baseball team.
Well, that's why I thought Kershaw was on the roster, is that even at his advanced age, he could mow through Great Britain. I mean, he's gonna destroy them.
I mean, even if he doesn't, like back these guys, like score runs. Who's on Brazil's staff? Like Pele's not walking through those doors. Like, this must be what they say in international soccer when they take on nations that they think they like. If I'm like a German soccer fan or a Brazilian soccer fan, and I'm playing like the 58th best team in the world,
every Premier League star, and
we should just mow down some of these teams, is what I would be thinking. And like in the WBC, it's a little bit like what we used to say with basketball. Like 30 years ago, you would steamroll everyone, right? Our national team, the Dream Team era.
Well,
that's changed because the world has caught up.
Well, that's why I remember the last Olympic team, the great Steph Curry, he went off in the final fourth quarter. People were having the debate because everyone thought that 1992 Dream Team was untouchable as the best basketball team ever. But was this last basketball Olympic team really the best ever?
Because of the competition level?
Right. You were playing, ridiculous. I mean, the teams that they were playing, they were winning by an average of 30 because basketball wasn't so big worldwide. Right. Now, I mean, you have NBA players playing for France and Canada and
not just NBA players, like Hall of Fame
like Shea
players.
And Wemby. And
these are incredible players right now. Again, does the U.S. still have the deepest, most talented roster by and large that's played out in world, basketball? Circles. In baseball, it's not to disparage the rest of the world. Japan's awesome. The Dominican, fully capable. There's probably a couple of other nations that are fully capable of winning. It's just like, what would it say? Like, do you think the U.S. is going 4-0 in pool play? Is it 4 games? Like, it's like what? Italy.
They play Mexico, which is legit.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, if you don't go 4-0, I mean, you're playing on home soil.
And by the way, you need to go 4-0 and demolish them. Like, this is not.
That's kind of what I think. Yeah.
You're not. If you win 2-0 over Brazil tomorrow, people are going to go.
Yeah. Like, what happened?
I mean, Bryce Harper, Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt. I mean, you got stars up and down this thing. They did go pretty young, though. Like Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson. They went with a lot of younger players instead of veteran stars. So hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them. But
is there a run rule or anything in WBC?
I don't know on that.
Yeah, I don't know. Because again, I'm with you. I feel like with a bunch of Hall of Famers, you just score 20.
Someone in the chat said Logan Webb is throwing against Brazil. They're saving Skubal.
Okay, they're saving Skubal for Italy, or because I want to say Skubal is pitching though in this like quote unquote pool play, which again isn't like your tournament is on the line. Your tournament's gonna be on the line when it's single elimination.
Right, you have to get out of the group. Yeah. You actually keep drawing the U.S.'s group.
Right, exactly. What do you got, bro?
They do have a mercy rule.
That's what I figured.
It's only in effect for pool play and quarterfinals, but not the semis or the championship. The game will end if a team is leading by 15 or more runs after 5 innings or 10 or more after 7.
Is it crazy that we got the Olympics this year, the WBC, and the World Cup, like all in the same calendar year?
And I was about to say all in America, but that's not right because the Olympics were in Italy. You're right, but we do also have the World Cup in the U.S. Yeah,
it's kind of odd how that all falls on this year.
Yeah, a little bit. You're right, because the WBC being every 3 years makes it that it's not always going to even fall like on an even year.
Yeah,
because like next time it'll be in 2029. All right, a lot to get to. We're going to give away some tickets coming up on the other side. How about a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park? We can do that to kick off hour 2. Also, you're going to hear from Miles Bird coming up. Brian Dutcher show is at 6 p.m. We're talking SDFC with Kindred D. St. Aubin from Apple TV at 3:30. Of course, we're the home for SDFC. You can listen to every match right here on San Diego Sports 760. Hour 2 coming up next. We're live as well on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Capital One. Buffalo is sending a second-round pick to the Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is scheduled to make a base salary of $23.5 million this season. In NBA news, Celtics superstar Jason Tatum is expected to make his NBA season debut tomorrow night against the Mavericks. Tatum's return comes less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles tendon in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John and the head coach will preview tomorrow night's senior night matchup against UNLV and more. Capital One is a founding partner of iHeart Women's Sports Network. Earn unlimited double miles on every purchase with the Capital One Venture X business card. Big purchasing power means you can spend more, earn more. The Capital One Venture X business card. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
All right, we're going to hear from Walker Buehler coming up, his thoughts on his outing today, and also being I don't know if this is a fair word to say, a two-time Tommy John recovery. Some people do say, by the way, in the business, like a survivor, which I don't think is the right thing to say, since people survive things much, it's not a life or death situation, but it is a career. It can change a career, obviously, if you don't recover well from it. So we'll hear from Walker Buehler coming up. I'm happy to do this. Someone just asked me, Sammy, I didn't mention this to you. He said, John, will you comment on the recent articles in the UT indicating he's talking about San Diego State, and this is what Dave writes, indicating the entire team will likely go into the transfer portal. I think what he's referencing is a couple of articles that Mark Ziegler has written. Mark's, of course, a frequent guest on this show. I can't speak to Mark's reporting, obviously, and Mark has covered the Aztecs for a long, long time. Like, for example, he wrote, and I'm just finding the article here from today because I read it earlier. Let's see. Okay, he was talking about, so today in an article recapping the Boise State loss. And again, the Aztecs have lost 4 or 5, I mean, they're not playing their best basketball. And Miles Bird commented on this today with the media as well. But in recapping the game, he talks about Tay Simmons and LZ Harrington and Latrell Davis as certainly, I would be paraphrasing, but essentially along the lines of, let's see if they can retain those 3 players. Latrell Davis didn't play this year. He redshirted. They should be able to retain him. Why would you redshirt and then leave?
Right. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I think Latrell's probably safe.
Again, there's unlimited free agency, so anything can happen at the end of the day. Tay Simmons has had, a very impressive year. You would think his opportunities only grow moving forward here. So I feel like he's made the most of the opportunity as a freshman. And then LZ Harrington, he's been bothered by a leg injury, but has had a really good freshman year. And you can only imagine him growing even further into opportunities with the Aztecs. Now, he didn't say it's a guarantee those 3 come back, but he went down the path, all right, assume those 3 come back. He then wrote, practically everyone else in the rotation is either out of eligibility or expected to be a part of a mass exodus to the transfer portal, either by personal choice or the coaching staff's choice. Now, that's Mark's reporting. I don't have any knowledge as to that level of conversation. But let me just say this to kind of 30,000 foot view it. Every single program in the country, most programs in the country, wouldn't you just say something similar about? It's free agency. Like, there's no contracts. Guess what? If every Padre was a free agent at the end of this year, guess what would happen? A lot of stars would leave because they're free agents. Now take it to the nth degree. There's 400 Division I programs. There's programs that have $20 million that they've allocated to the roster. So, by the way, a 40-year-old right now listening to me in San Diego would be foolish to not consider going from a $70,000 salary to a $200,000 salary. Would you not? You could change your family's fortune, could you not? If you went from 50K to 150K overnight. So why wouldn't a 19-year-old consider the same? And secondarily, it's like how many players are we even talking about? Because Reese Dixon Waters is going to be out of eligibility. Jeremiah Oden out of eligibility. Sean Newman out of eligibility. If we say Tay and LZ and Latrell hopefully are retained, you're only talking about a few players. And none of these players, to me at least, have indicated publicly. BJ Davis, Miles Heide, Pharaoh Compton, ties to Goreville. They haven't indicated what they're going to do. So it's a long way of me saying it is impossible to predict in a world where there is no cap and there's unlimited free agency. You could go 39-0 and leave Kentucky for Missouri because Missouri's going to offer you another $1 million or vice versa. So my point is it's just impossible to predict. And for me, I don't really think it's worth having the conversation because it's impossible to predict.
Well, in the Latrell Davis argument, if Latrell Davis was going to go get his money, it would have been after last year where he actually had 2 really good games against the Aztecs. I mean, just redshirting a year, you'd think that his value would be at an all-time low. Not that he's not a talented player, but people kind of forget about him. They haven't seen him in a year, so that wouldn't make a lot.
He's locked in because to make a commitment for a year to not play,
right? You obviously had your eye on this program,
yeah,
so
exactly.
So I think he's coming back. Tay Simmons, LZ Harrington. I mean. Yeah, it's free enterprise. So
right.
obviously, I mean, right. If North Carolina is like, here's a couple $1 million to come. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to think about it. Like, I mean, who wouldn't think about that, honestly? But yeah, I mean, San Diego State does have a massive fan base. People in the city care about it. It's an attractive program. So I think you would need a lot of money to lure elsewhere. Like, I don't think a lot of these players are. Sorry if you went to Colorado State, but just jumping ship for the same amount of money to go to Colorado State. I mean, right. San Diego State has emerged as a premier brand in college basketball, trying to kind of break into that blue blood territory. And yeah, I mean, could players certainly leave 100%?
But they leave everywhere. So that's kind of my point on the, like, I guess if you're like fearing, if you're an Aztec fan, you're like, I'm fearing the worst possible scenario. I'm like, the worst possible scenario is just a scenario. It's happening everywhere. Utah State constantly churns over their entire roster and wins Mountain West championships and plays in the NCAA tournament. Eric Olin, the head coach of New Mexico, who was at UCSD for 21 years, has an entirely new coaching staff, training staff, and student athlete roster in his first year at New Mexico. And they're on the verge of potentially making the tournament. As in, you can't fear it. San Diego State this past year retained 8 players. They had some of the most continuity in Division I, returning minutes and points production, some of the most continuity. And by the way, right now they're on the outside looking in. So for me, is there a correlation somewhere along the line? Do you want to retain your best players? Of course you do. Everyone would say that. But it's, to me, something that you shouldn't fear. If you're able to retain a lot of your players, terrific. If a player happens to have a better opportunity like Nick Boyd to Wisconsin, you have to just have a plan. Well, you know, as you just can't say, well, Nick Boyd left for Wisconsin. Now we're not capable of having a good year, you know?
Well, and do you remember March Madness last year? Remember Michigan, Trey Donaldson, one of their star guards, entered the transfer portal as they were in the Sweet 16 and went to the Elite Eight. Yep. So they didn't know if he was going to play. Yep. I mean,
that can't, this year they're waiting. The portal opens after the tournament.
Okay. All right. Which is good because that was insane that we had.
Stupid.
I mean, you were getting penalized. Remember last year?
The longer you played.
The longer you played.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of years ago when Ohio State and Notre Dame played for a college football national championship, it was, remember, I believe it was Penn State, the backup quarterback behind Drew Aller got a bunch of money to go play at Missouri.
Oh, per Buehler or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So people were crushing him because they were like, oh, you're leaving your team. And James Franco at the time came out and defended. It's like, I'm defending the kid. Like he's getting a starting job. They're making him go because they don't want him to get hurt. But yeah, just as you can play that same argument to your point about fear of losing big time players and LZ Harrington, Tay Simmons, Latrell Davis, whoever, you also can, San Diego State, back to my point about being an attractive brand, you're pitching the city of San Diego. The program has had a lot of recent success on the national stage. For as many guys that are going to leave, there's going to be just as many guys that are coming in that are big time talent elsewhere. Yep. So I think it all kind of evens out. So yeah, will the team look the exact same as we probably hope it's going to be next year? No, but I mean, there could be a star somewhere else that breaks out in March Madness that the Aztecs are able to lure away for next year. Yeah,
like I guess it's a long way of saying, like I would put a bow on it by saying the Aztecs will be just fine, folks. You know what I mean? Like the Aztecs will be more than fine is what I would say. And I remember 2 years ago, everyone's like, oh my gosh, NIL is killing San Diego State. It's killing non-power leagues. They're becoming AAA. Guess what? Nobody said this offseason when they kept Magoon Guath and Miles Bird. Not one person said San Diego State is feeding anything for someone else, right? No, not one person. So, and by the way, they haven't had the year they would have liked to have. And guess what's going to happen this offseason if someone jumps in the portal? People say, "Oh, told you." But that doesn't mean you're not replacing the piece that you lost with something that is as capable as what you previously had. So there's so many factors at play. There's just so many factors at play. And again, I mean, Mark has covered this program for a long time. His job is different than mine. You know, it's his reporting is he's had a lot of success obviously with his reporting. So I don't think he's just throwing stuff against a wall to see if it sticks. But I also think that, and he would say this, I think, and we could get him on at some point, maybe even tomorrow. Obviously, he's been on the show 100 times, maybe as much as anyone. I think what he would also say is that what San Diego State's about to experience heading into the offseason is the same thing that 9 out of 10 programs nationally are going to experience, which is it's open free agency. It's about dollars and cents. And yeah, there's movement.
I mean, it's an open bidding war. You made the point of if every free agent in the MLB became a free agent in the NFL, the NBA. I mean, it would just be, it's completely free enterprise. And it's funny how college sports has went from, in football and basketball, it felt like coaches and programs had all the power for a long time because it was kind of, they weren't getting paid, athletes, and it was kind of their way or the highway. And how it's just completely flipped where, yeah, I mean, if you were a player, us as San Diego State fans want players to stay, understandably, and I want players to stay, but to fall guys for not even looking in the portal when, I mean, average players are making millions of dollars. This is not just like, you know, your Darren Petersons, your Cameron Boozers,
and your 7 guys.
No, I mean,
hundreds
of guys are making legit money. And so I mean, the Aztecs as a brand, I feel like if you're Utah State, if you're a New Mexico or someone, and I'm not trying to just dump on those programs, but I would be more worried if I was them about retaining talent because San Diego State sells. Going back to the brand of San Diego State, you've seen them on the national picture many times over the last few years. It's a beautiful place to live. San Diego State is not going to be having recruiting problems, whereas I could see some other spots in the Mountain West that being more of an issue to try to convince someone to come play at your school. I just don't think San Diego State's going to have that issue.
Yeah, so I didn't necessarily plan to have that conversation right now because we'll see what happens from here through the end of the season, whether that's in the NCAA tournament, in a different postseason event, if their season ends in Las Vegas, right, is cut short in the Mountain West tournament. But, you know, I have been considering discussing it to greater detail because I think you have to put in perspective for longtime college sports fans. And everyone says this, and this kind of goes without saying for me, but maybe not for those that are observers, that everything's changed. Everything you knew about it is different. It's not all for worse. It's just different. And San Diego State has adapted to the differences. And I think by and large, done a pretty good job with it. I mean, yeah, they were in the national championship game, and that was kind of pre or the beginning of the portal era NIL. I mean, since they have a Sweet 16, since they have an NCAA tournament spot, if they don't make it this year, I don't think you just pin the whole thing and be like, oh, it's the whole new era of college athletics. They can never win again. No, maybe they just didn't play well down the stretch. Like, are we overthinking it? It's not for a lack of effort. They all want to win. I was at practice today. Miles Bird said it. Brian Dusher says it. If anything, they want it too bad. You know, if anything, they want it so damn badly. Miles Bird played on a team that played for a national championship. You think he's just ready to go out, ride off into the sunset once this thing over? That's laughable to consider. Oftentimes people equate losing with lack of effort, and you can't do that. Like, you can try as hard as you think the Chiefs had a lack of effort against the Eagles 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. It's comical.
Yeah, right. And exactly. Sometimes you're just not as good as the other team. But there's in basketball, there's 5 guys on the other side of the floor that are trying to win just as bad as you are. So just because you won it, but it is the whole, free enterprise. It's just such a big conversation about college sports. It's wild to think how it's changed from it felt like colleges had all the power to now players have all the power. This probably needs to be a balance. It was too far one way for many years, probably gone way too far the other way now in both college football and college basketball. But it's here to stay. So School's kind of got to deal with it.
Yeah, it's like once you let it out, like genie out of the bottle, the cliche, like it ain't coming back. All right, we're going to hear from Walker Buehler on the other side. Kendra D. St. Aubin, Apple TV analyst, gets us ready for SDFC and Sporting KC, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760 this weekend. Stay with us. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, so this story that's playing out all day in Peoria is fascinating. Oh, hold on. In play runs in the ninth inning, the Padres have at least tied the Cactus League record for most runs scored in a game. If that tweet from earlier was accurate, the Padres have scored again. They were leading the Mariners in the ninth, 26-5. They've added on On a Romeo Sanabria or Sanabria RBI ground out, it's 27-5 San Diego. The Padres have scored in 8 consecutive innings after a scoreless first. The more you know. And by the way, the most home runs they've ever hit in a game, guys, in a regular season game in the history of the franchise is 7. They've hit 8 home runs today in the Cactus. I mean, again, who cares? But imagine going to this game. This is a good game to go to.
Yeah, seriously.
You've seen a little bit of everything.
Thursday at noon, man.
You've seen a little bit of everything. Walker Buehler started this game. Do we have this, Brett? Walker Buehler started this game. He spoke about his timetable coming off a second Tommy John surgery and more.
Musgrove was saying yesterday, he's talked to guys who had TJ and it took about 2 years to finally feel back to normal. You've gone through it twice. Is that kind of your experience? 2 years?
Yeah, my first one was kind of an outlier, man. I was 21 years old and got way bigger, way stronger. And my first live, I felt better than I ever had. And so the second one, I think that timeline checks out. Maybe mine even more a little bit. Was a little bit more delayed. But, about 4 weeks ago, my elbow just stopped hurting. And so that's a new one for me. And, things have kind of ticked up from there. So, I think Joe is on the right track. Obviously, I think the first thing for those guys that are coming off of it, myself included, is to find the aggressiveness back in the throw and being around him, watching him throw. That's definitely in there. So, I think that's 2/3 of the battle, and he'll be good.
Is that a thing where it just stopped hurting? Like it just went, like you were feeling it?
I've tried every treatment and supplement and vitamin you can. And luckily I have some people out here that I work with and have worked with for a lot of years, and something got rid of it and it hasn't come back. I'm a little scared. I don't know exactly what did it that fixed it. I hope if it hurts again, we get lucky again. But no, all in all, I think it's in a really good spot.
Interesting that Walker Buehler, who pitched last year in the major leagues, is saying his elbow just stopped hurting 4 weeks ago. Tells you a little bit about, like, you're not getting Walker Buehler from his prime.
Well, and he didn't really pitch that much down the stretch because after the Dodgers traded him,
he had 4 appearances for like 13. It wasn't a lot of innings.
And then he signed back with the Phillies in the minor league deal, kind of because they thought they didn't play in the Dodgers, which they did in the postseason. Right. Never got pulled up. So, yeah, not the most encouraging sign.
It sounds like he's feeling better because now he's dealing without the pain. But again, that kind of puts in perspective. Like if you think this guy's making 30-something starts as your number 5 and is going to give you length, it's going to be a little potentially rocky. Guy is 4 weeks removed from having pain in his elbow that was surgically repaired a second time. He went along with the idea that it is a 2-year recovery potential for him. He even said, if not longer. Now, I don't know when he had that surgery. Walker Buehler. Like the day
few years ago. The thing with, because the Dodgers, the year that, if I'm remembering this right, the year that they got beat by Arizona, the starting rotation was awful. It was like one of the worst rotations the Dodgers have had.
Yes, you're right.
They were trying to see, there was all this kind of hope in Dodger land was that he would come back down the stretch because the Dodgers literally did not have an ace pitcher. Going in that series, Kershaw got crushed in the first game against the Diamondbacks. So
you're going back 3 years.
You're going back 3 years, and it's kind of, you don't know what you're getting from him because he hasn't necessarily been great in the regular seasons each of the last couple of years. Closed out the World Series for the Dodgers, so he certainly pitched in some big moments and actually played well in that playoff run. So there's still some juice left in the tank. But right to your point, if you're thinking about bulk innings, because that's ideally what you would want out of the 5th starter, considering Musgrove coming off an injury, Michael King coming off an injury, and not putting so much pressure on Nick Pivetta like the Padres did last year. We'll see how many he can go because he's the best available option for the Padres. You just hope they don't tax him, and then it ends up taxing Musgrove and these guys because they're kind of out of options.
Yeah, what's interesting is I don't think they will tax Walker Buehler or Joe Musgrove. So I guess what does it mean for the bullpen? Because I think they'll be very cautious out of the gates. Like if you're choosing between one more batter or one less, you're choosing one less. If you're choosing between one more inning or one less, you're choosing one less inning. And if you do have a rotation that includes both Joe Musgrove and Walker Buehler from day one, you are asking your bullpen to cover a ton. Even if they're good, that they will slow play the start of the. Musgrove is not throwing 90 pitches his first time out.
And that's got to be a concern, though, because as we down the stretch, the bullpen was great last year. Miller was unbelievable. Suarez was great, but Suarez and Estrada, the last few weeks of the season, if you remember, Estrada felt like he was really limping in the finish line because he had thrown so many innings early on in the year when Miller wasn't there, and he was kind of one of the go-to guys. And even Suarez got touched up a little bit at the end of last year, unlike he did at the beginning. That's the biggest question for me with Craig Stammen is he going to go to his bullpen so early this season because of the injuries to pitchers? And if that's the case, that just it may look great in April and May, and they might win a lot of games at Petco, and people are going to be excited. What does that do for you though late in the summer?
Stay tuned. All right, we do have a giveaway for you this hour: a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. We're getting you ready for SDFC and Sporting Kansas City this weekend with Kendra D. St. Aubin with Apple TV. Of course, you can hear the match right here as well on San Diego Sports 760. She will join us next. SDFC is 2-0, looking to stay undefeated. Stay with us on San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by California Department of Public Health Center for Preparedness and Response. In NFL news, the Bills are sending a second-round pick to the Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is scheduled to make a base salary of about $23.5 million this season. In NBA news, Celtics superstar Jason Tatum is expected to make his NBA season debut tomorrow night against Dallas. Tatum's return will come less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John and the head coach will preview Friday night's senior night game against UNLV and more. Wildfires can happen anytime, and wildfire smoke can harm your health. Prepare now. Get a HEPA air purifier, N95 masks, and Air Now app. Learn more at wildfires.cdph.ca.gov.
All right. Back with you here on San Diego Sports 760. Again, you can listen to SDFC on your home for SDFC right here on 760, including this upcoming match on Saturday at 5:30 Pacific. SDFC on the road against Sporting Kansas City. And good to welcome in Kendra D. St. Aubin, analyst for Apple TV, with us right now here in San Diego. So, Kendra, we appreciate you taking some time. I'm curious to get your thoughts in general on the first year plus for SDFC, obviously in the Western Conference Final last year, off to this 2-0 start this year. What's it been like to watch the success of what was last year an expansion franchise? And thanks for joining us.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And second of all, craziness what San Diego was able to do. I think anytime an expansion club can come bursting onto the scenes like that, you're thinking, oh, this is just the beginning. No one really knows what to expect. Wait till people figure them out. And nobody seemed to figure them out till almost making it to the final of Major League Soccer, getting dusted in that Western Conference final. But I mean, what they've done, and then you're thinking sophomore slump. Nope, not for the San Diego side. 2-0 in MLS play, flying in CONCACAF Champions Cup. So all good things from Mikey Veras in the San Diego club in year number 2.
What's kind of fascinating, I think locally, when the franchise was debuting last year, a lot of people were kind of enamored with Chucky Lozano, rightfully so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Chucky had impactful moments and put together, I think, what most would consider to be probably a good season, but it didn't really pan out well at the end. And I think there was this general belief, well, without Chucky Lozano, this team isn't going to be the same. How have they been able to maintain their play and form here without Chucky?
Well, I think first and foremost, when you look at Mikey Veras and what he wants to do with the San Diego side, no individual player is ever bigger than the team. And I know a lot of coaches say that. I know a lot of organizations in any sport say that. But I truly believe that's what they're living by. This competition, this going into training every day, this concept that no position is truly safe. And we can see that with the goalkeeper position right now for San Diego. But talking about Chucky Lozano and the impact he had from a name standpoint, absolutely. And in that market, 100%. But then you had players like Anders Dreyer, who's just unbelievable quality on the ball. He's an incredible teammate. His work rate is next to nothing. He's wearing that number 10, a relatively unknown name in year number 1. In year number 2, he's not getting away with that. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows his quality. And I think that this is the San Diego side that just feels like they've got something to prove in year 2. This year 1 wasn't a fluke. They weren't just catching everybody off guard. And yes, no Chucky Lozano, but plenty of other players on this squad that are making their mark. And I think the roster was incredibly well built to truly be no bigger than one individual. It's all about the team. And it's interesting and fascinating listening to Mikey Vera speak about that. In every media availability, that's like his number one concept is the culture and the camaraderie of the team.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've built. Of course, they have their Right to Dream Academy as well that can pay dividends, now and moving forward for the franchise. Kendra D. St. Aubin, Apple TV, with us right now against San Diego FC on the road against Sporting Kansas City. What are the expected challenges you would expect to see out of San Diego this year? Again, they just kind of I don't know if it's flash in the pan or however you want to present it, but all of a sudden you look up, they're hosting the Western Conference Final. They're a match or two away from winning the MLS Cup. On one hand, maybe they can use that to their motivation and get that far or further. On the other hand, what are the challenges they might be facing moving ahead here in the second year?
I think the biggest challenge for them would just be understanding that teams will adapt to what they tried to do last year and what they did do and were capable of doing with the way they want to play. They love to have the ball. They have players that love to have the ball, 60+% possession on almost every opportunity in every game they can get. But at the same time, they're completely comfortable in playing on the counter. They're completely comfortable in understanding that they can go to goal quickly. And if you saw the 2 goals they scored in their last game against St. Louis City, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that they can possess and pass the ball around and find their way through, but also understanding that they can counter. They're comfortable in the competition, as I stated, with their goalkeeping situation. So they have a youngster in Fari in there right now, 19 years old, but they also have a veteran on the bench in Cisniega who played in the CONCACAF Champions Cup game. So for this San Diego side, it's just going to be true to yourself. Stay true to yourself, true to your principles, true to what you're trying to accomplish. Understands that teams are going to try to beat you in different ways and contain you in different ways, and just keep evolving and adapting. So it's that sort of a special balance between true to yourself, but also adapting to the moment and what the game gives you and what the opponent gives you. So it's a Mikey Veras like specialty, I think, that he has the ability to do that and get the best out of his players, whether they're young or whether they're veterans. And they're not going to take anybody by surprise this season, but at the same time, I think that they're smart enough to know that they have to be even better at what they're doing and what they're really good at, and especially going forward in the attack.
Yeah, that's really good insight. And now San Diego this weekend on the road, as you know, because you'll be on the call for San Diego and Kansas City. Last year, SDFC was phenomenal on the road, and I know that typically in professional soccer, obviously there's challenges, to get a result on the road as opposed to at home. What do our listeners need to know about Kansas City, their start obviously this year, but what their expectations are as well?
Another new coach in Major League Soccer, and Rafael Wicki. He's coming back to Major League Soccer. He was with Chicago Fire a few years ago, then went back to Europe. So Sporting Kansas City, big transition for them. Peter Vermees had been there for over a decade leading that squad. So you're going to see a different style. He, again, has a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a very well thought out plan of how he wants to play, but he's not married to a specific formation. He's not going to say, oh, we're a 4-3-3, we're this, we're that. He just understands that his players are capable of being diverse, playing in different positions, and moving the ball quickly up the field, understanding that they're not going to sit back, but they're not going to just kick the ball long. Just a very well-rounded head coach. So this is not going to be the Sporting Kansas City team that San Diego saw last year. He's got a lot of the same players, but he's kind of deploying them in different ways. And Dan Jovic, their number 9 up top, just lethal inside the box. You get him anywhere in and around the 18-yard box, and you find him service, and he will score goals for you. I mean, he was a double-digit goal scorer last year, and Sporting Kansas City wasn't even good. So when he was with LA Galaxy before that, and he had a ton of quality service, he was just dominant in and around the 18. So he's a player that San Diego fans should absolutely watch for and keep an eye on. He's number 9 on Sporting Kansas City.
A couple of just bigger picture questions for you. Kendra D. St. Aubin with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Obviously the last time the World Cup was in the States, it kind of was the advent of Major League Soccer, right? That led us to this era that we've seen over the last 20 or 30 years. How do you envision this upcoming World Cup impacting soccer, professional soccer in America?
Oh, man. There probably isn't anything bigger when you look at something like this. To have a men's World Cup on North American soil with Canada and Mexico as well is going to just catapult this into a whole nother level. Because imagining what it did for Major League Soccer back in 94 and then leading into that World Cup, you think about what it's going to do this season with all the social media platforms, with the 24-hour news cycles. I mean, all those things didn't even exist back then. So this is going to just bring in the entire country. This is going to bring everybody together. It's the fringe soccer fans. It's the hardcore soccer fans, whether you're an EPL fan or you're watching La Liga or you're watching Major League Soccer, whatever league is your league of choice, you will latch onto a team, a player, and then you'll be able to follow them right back into Major League Soccer. You may not even know that, one of these players that plays for your favorite country also plays in this league right here outside your doorstep. So I just think it's going to catapult the league to a whole nother level, even though it's already grown so much in 30 years, 31st season of Major League Soccer. It's going to be fun. And if you've never been a part of it, I mean, just walk down the street during a World Cup, even if it's not on American soil. The bars are jumping, the watch parties, it's insanity. Now that it is on American soil and it's in your time zone, which also can make a big difference. You're not, getting up 6 hours earlier just to catch a game. This is going to be something to behold this summer. The league is technically on pause for games, but I guarantee the league is going to be embracing the World Cup, the stars that are in the World Cup that are playing in this league. Who knows who will come into this league after the World Cup. All eyes are going to be on it, and it's going to be pretty awesome and pretty special.
And specifically, the U.S. men's national team will be playing in the Pacific time zone for pool play coming up here later this year. One more big picture question for you before you go, Kendra, and we appreciate you taking time. What's the impact in your mind of the calendar change that MLS is about to experience on where this league will kind of be globally? Like, what's the global impact for Major League Soccer by aligning itself with the world game?
Well, it'll be huge in a positive way, because when we look at the global game and the transfer windows and the way they currently fall, it's very challenging for some of these players to come from overseas when their league is on break. They come over here in July, let's say, during the secondary transfer window for Major League Soccer. They've just been on holiday, and no knock on them. They're not in full fit training. They just wrapped up a crazy season. They're taking their time off, and then Major League Soccer is trying to get these guys over here and implement them into one of the most important times of the season, where you're down the stretch. You're trying to make the playoffs. You're trying to get your best seating. You're trying to get home field advantage. That will no longer be a thing. Everybody will be on the same calendar, understanding exactly when the breaks are, exactly when the transfer windows are, understanding that you can get these players and coaches, by the way, if you need to replace a coach, into your system, into your city, into the United States of America, or North America for that matter, including Canada, in a timely manner, in a very important time. So this is going to change the game to elevate the league even more. And imagining what Major League Soccer has done in the last 30 plus years, not being on the same calendar as the rest of the world, this is going to be next level, because it will just make the ease of even the guys just coming over here, getting their families over here, getting everybody acclimated, making everybody feel comfortable, kids getting into school, whatever it might be. It will change the game when those transfer windows are lined up with all the other leagues around the world, and elevate the level of play even more than it already has. And I think you ask anybody, they're excited about it. And a lot of talk about the weather over here and the climate. I live in Minnesota, for goodness sake. Like, we had a home game here. Minnesota had a home game here last weekend. It was cold, but it's 100% capable. Players can do it. Teams can do it. And it's going to be awesome to see what that does for the league, switching it to that calendar.
You could just play all matches for the league in San Diego year round. If they want to put every franchise here, that's something they can consider.
By the sounds of it, it sounds like San Diego liked to go on the road last year.
Yeah, they did. But
everybody else is scratching their head.
But man, it's not bad when you're playing in February and it's 77 at kickoff or whatever it was recently here in February in San Diego.
Yeah, just rub it in. Just rub it in. Thanks a lot.
I know. Well, that's a good point. I mean, listen, you kind of pinch yourself when you spend time, obviously. I'm not from San Diego, so when you live in San Diego, it's just a phenomenal place. Kendra, we appreciate you taking time for us. SDFC and Sporting KC coming up on Saturday. You can watch it on Apple TV. You can listen to it right here on San Diego Sports 760. Thank you for taking time for us here today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Great stuff. On the other side, we are giving away a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. That's next on San Diego Sports 760. All right, John Schaefer, Sammy Long. We're giving away those Safari Park tickets in the next 10 minutes. So do not go anywhere. We have a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. I like the zoo, what I would call it, right?
Yep.
I think most people consider the zoo to be the downtown zoo.
Yes.
But
that's the one that gets ranked nationally.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, a Safari Park is a good time. Like it's just a different experience. It's a completely different experience.
I don't know who we do business with, so I'm not going to trash things, but the Safari Park is fantastic because it's more spacious. There's like less,
it's
field
a
trips.
Quieter. Yeah. It's like less foot traffic probably.
Yeah. And my favorite part about the Safari Park is the tram ride.
Love the tram ride.
It's fantastic. Just get off your feet, look at some animals.
Yeah. What could go wrong? Anyway,
what could go wrong?
We'll give away a 4-pack of tickets. Okay, so what do I have for you? Oh yeah, there's an injury update here for the Padres. Like you score 27 runs and you like to get out of that healthy.
Give them a ring already. I mean, come on.
So they did score 27, which I think maybe tied a Cactus League record. I mean, who even cares? Who even knows? Is there a Cactus League media guide?
Will it be on SportsCenter tonight? Because I said that earlier and I was out there. Maybe. I was like, I don't know if it will.
They might say, hey, I'm making 11 combined home runs and 30 something combined runs, 27, maybe.
If it was the Yankees, it would definitely be on.
You think it makes bad beats? And the Mariners scored 23 in the bottom tonight to spoil the Padres.
Sorry to anyone with the under.
By the way, here's a question for the three of us. Here's a serious question. Brent will love this. Could I have gotten on the mound in the bottom of the 9th inning with a 27-5 lead and preserved it?
No.
I say yes. Because when they hit it at someone, you're telling me that 25 consecutive dudes are going to reach?
Here's the problem, John, and your personal friend, and you're a fantastic radio host.
But I'm not a good pitcher.
You're not going to put it down the middle, and you're going to walk every time.
And also, my arm would fall off if I faced 20 batters. My arm would literally fall off.
Brent, what do you
think there's someone out there?
I think you would.
I would or would not.
I think you could.
He thinks I get out of it. Let's say Sammy played high school ball and wasn't even good.
Yeah, they're gonna like nail it off of you, but who's to say that your percentage? But his percentages are that he's gonna hit. They're gonna hit one, two
someone.
Yeah, and it only has to happen 3 times out of how
30.
many runs are you up?
Yes,
30?
but
22.
The amount. First off, I am going to walk every batter. True. And the ones I don't are going to be meatballs down the middle that get taken to outer space.
Yeah, but J-Rod's not on the team. He's at the WBC.
It might be a scenario, though, where like when Anthony Rizzo struck out Freddie Freeman to where it's going to come in so slow.
Yeah, but those guys can't throw it over the plate. I think after 5 or 10, if I got some warm-up pitches, here's my point. If you're an average high school player, this is a real question. Let's say you had 6 career high school outings. And let's say you're now 25. So you're like 7-8 years removed from having pitched in high school. But you had 7 or 8 outings where you were serviceable in high school. Could you get out of that?
No shot.
You couldn't get out of that with a 22-run lead?
What's your
facing some single A Mariner farmhand?
John and Brent, what's your guys' velo checking in at?
I'm probably in the high 40s.
Right. So
I'm below bat speed though.
Yeah, but the chances of you throwing enough competitive pitchers.
The Padres scored 12 runs in the second inning off an actual
pitcher. What's going to
his professional experience?
I'll take it a step farther. I
wouldn't get an out.
I don't think you get an out.
Come on, facing 30 guys.
And this is not an indictment on you, John. I would not get an out. Brent, I don't think we get an out. I don't think anyone would just walk up and get an out because they're not going to swing at it.
Well, not swinging is a deep, but let's say if they did swing, if there were 20 balls put in play, wouldn't one be fielded? Yes.
Okay, I guess.
Look at it. Look at it like this: the home run derby. They don't hit every single ball out. Look how many balls just are canicorns, or just going to the dirt. So it would be like that. They would,
Okay, so I'm curious. I'm curious where you guys fall on. Could you score on an NBA player?
Well, it depends on how many opportunities I was given. If I could just keep hoisting up a shot from the top of the
I'm going to give you 100 shots, but the other NBA player's life depends on not letting you score.
It would be hard.
Can the other NBA player be Muggsy Bogues?
Right. Because if I'm facing Wemby or like Embiid,
Yeah, because I won't be able to shoot over them. I can shoot over most.
Here's my problem.
It'll
Muggsy,
take me 50 shots to make
yeah, but
one.
can we
But
get a
here's
shot
shoot
off
over
even
them.
like a 6 foot?
that's what I'm saying.
Guard?
Muggsy Bogues,
Probably not. That's why I'm going with the 5'3" guy.
Isaiah Thomas, though, here's the problem. 5'3", their hands are so fast.
Yeah.
They're going to take it away every time you try to reach the ball up. So I would say no. I don't think
all I know is didn't Ben Fletcher nearly die playing Jonathan? In like
that was, remember when my dad shut down the thing because he was turning red.
Ben was going to have a heart attack.
Yeah. And remember he was talking mess.
Did Ben score on Jonathan? If Ben can't score on Jonathan, then I can't score on Tyrese Halliburton.
He did, but J-Riff kicked his ass though.
Right.
Remember when Ben was eating pizza and
Like
drinking
right
soda and he was bragging about how J-Riff had no shot and
J-Riff died.
You know what the best part about that? So those two fools are having a little, I don't know if you could call that a one-on-one. And Malachi Flynn is on the other end of the court.
Just like shooting jumpers.
Drilling shots. He made like 20 consecutive threes and he missed one and he's like pissed at himself.
No, it's a good point. Like you got guys that high level players that, there's no shot. I mean, could you randomly just hoist a ball up and it goes in? Right? Yeah, but there's no shot.
Like a player like Malachi Flynn. Think about how talented he is. Superstar at San Diego State. He dropped 50 points in the Garden.
And he's in Europe right now. I've heard wherever he is, he's absolutely torn that league up.
Right, but he's not on an NBA roster right now, and everyone in San Diego knows how talented Malachi Flynn is. So I think people think because they can score a little bit at their YMCA that they can score.
Yeah, probably.
I've had heated arguments with friends about this.
It's a great conversation, isn't it?
So 27-5 in baseball.
27-5 because you hold the lead. In spring training. This isn't even facing Machado, Tatis, Merrill.
These are all guys who were drafted.
Rando. No, you're right. I mean, I'd have trouble because I haven't done anything athletic in roughly 20 years.
I'm just saying, I'm going with my home run derby scenario of how many times in the home run derby.
Right, Dad just throws it over the middle.
Put it this way, Sammy. Ball's so easy that little leaguers literally field them. So, and that's all it has to happen. He just needs three of those
in the outfield. Just three
of them. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to pitch a complete game shutout or anything. He just has to get three guys to run into pop-ups.
I think what would be even harder is for anyone to get a swing and a miss. To get one by someone
potentially. Although I think, again, pitching below bat speed and with such oddness, the way I would look at the mound,
I think he would be better off not trying to get it by them and let
just
them make contact and hope they pop something up.
I agree with that.
I would fall on myself laughing if you guys came out and did the underarm pitcher.
No, I would
underarm
throw. I have to pitch overhand. That would be basically the rule. All right. No good segue from that, but if you want a 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, you can call right now because caller 7, you are going. 4-pack of tickets to the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. That is a great giveaway. If you want those tickets, call 877-767-4760. That's 877-767-4760. Caller 7. That's a 4-pack of tickets. Like that's a really good value for free to caller number 7. The new Elephant Valley at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park lets you get up close and roam with the largest land animals on Earth. The elephants aren't the only ones who will never forget Elephant Valley. Now open the wrap on the other side. Sammy, appreciate you, man.
Your boy's the best.
We'll see Sammy tomorrow. Stay with us. Brian Toucher Show at 6, San Diego Sports 760.
The support is sponsored by Text Now. The Bills are sending a second-round pick to the Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is scheduled to make a base salary of $23.5 million this season. In NBA news, Celtics superstar Jason Tatum is expected to make his NBA season debut tomorrow night against Dallas. Tatum's return will come less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. The head coach will talk with Jon about tomorrow night's senior night against UNLV and more. And following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, we will have Lakers basketball. Other wireless carriers tell you when to pay. Text Now asks, what do you need? It's app first phone service without commitments, credit checks, or a carrier attitude. Built for people who stopped asking for permission. Download today.
All right, San Diego Sports 760, but wait, there's more. Sammy is not going to leave yet. He's going to stick around for the wrap.
People are probably like, God, we've heard enough of him today.
You have been on for like 4 hours. Now you've done the 4 hour, the full 4 hours.
I did it, but Brent.
Just call him Sammy Belfort. You're not going anywhere.
Exactly. Brent and you doing the rap is one of my favorite segments in San Diego. Okay, I enjoy it every day.
That. Okay.
No, I literally tune in at 4 o'clock because I like hearing you guys on the rap.
Well, then good. Well, then we're glad to have you a part of it.
So hopefully I don't screw it up today.
There's nothing to really screw up. So let's get to it.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Is tomorrow must-win game for the Aztecs?
No, because you know what? Actually, I'm gonna switch. Yes, because not in terms of does it matter if they're winning a share of the Mountain West Conference title? That doesn't matter to me. But they do need a win to get back to their winning ways because heading into the Mountain West Conference tournament on a 3-game losing streak, when you're going to have to win 3 straight games to get in March Madness, I think you need a little bit of, as you would say, positive vibes heading into the weekend and how this kind of big 3, big 4 can work out well together.
Yeah, I agree with you. And again, you could get into the semantics of must win because they're not making their season by winning it. But man, like it's going to be a pretty big hill to climb if for the first time in 8 years you've lost 3 straight games and you're heading into the Mountain West tournament. Where if you do win tomorrow against a very capable UNLV team, I think you'll feel good about yourself because you went on senior day, you got some of the vibes back, and you say the whole thing's wide open. And we're going to have one of the better seeds. Doesn't mean we're going to have an easy path because I don't really think there is an easy path when you look at this league. But it's much preferred to get this game, not because you have to get this game, but just what it means from like a psyche and confidence perspective, especially going from Friday until not playing the next Thursday. You want to have something to feel good about, a jumping off point heading into that stretch where you want to be mind, body, soul focused on the Mountain West tournament. Next question.
Who won today's Bears-Bills trade?
The Chicago Bears. I think what your Bears got back in a second round pick, getting off DJ Moore, freeing up about $15 to $16 million in salary cap, and knowing that Rome Odunze and Luther Burden are 2 top young wide receivers in the league. DJ Moore, I think it's a good gift for the Bills. I'm not taking that away from them, but I don't know if DJ Moore puts the Bills over the top. It gives Josh Allen finally a number 1 weapon, something he badly needed last year. Khalil Shakir is not a number 1 receiver, but I still think there's massive work to do on the offense for Buffalo, and I think the Bears getting a second round pick was a big deal.
One of those things as well where oftentimes we get enamored with skill and you're like, oh, a team is a skill player away. We're like, no, they're not. They're like an offensive lineman away, or they're an edge rusher away, or they're quarterback away. Obviously, that's not the case with Buffalo. Is it impactful? Yes. Is it the difference between getting to a Super Bowl or not? No. I mean, there's no way it is. That's putting way too much stock in DJ Moore. It might get him closer, but the AFC is a gauntlet, man. And they couldn't get there this year. So are they going to get there next year is what I would say, because next year it's going to be harder to get there because of the teams you're going to be facing. So I don't know if the Bears win it, but I don't know if the Bills are going to be a winner as a result of what they've added.
And Brent, what you were talking about at the break, is a lot have been linked to Max Crosby for the Bears, and that $15 million in cap space, we could see something here in the next couple of days with Crosby maybe going to Chicago.
Yeah, for me, it depends. If they use the draft collateral and the money they freed up to make the trade and get Crosby, then it will be worth it. But if they just made the trade to clear up cap space, and granted, Caleb had more of like a connection later in the year with Adunze and Burden than he did with Moore, but. On a personal note, it kind of sucked just because, like I said, we haven't beaten Green Bay in forever, and he caught both game-winning touchdown passes this year in the Packers game, so it kind of sucks that then we let him go right away. But I get it. As long as they get, at least, either Crosby in a trade or use that money to try and sign Hendrickson, which I think will be a bigger feat because he's going to want a lot of money. And so if they get a pass rusher or something out of it, I'll be okay.
Next question.
Are the Celtics the favorite in the East now with Jason Tatum coming back?
I think they are. The Eastern Conference is totally up in the air. I mean, now with the Celtics have the perfect blend of now you have two bona fide superstars in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Nemias Keita, who played at Utah State, has really grown into a nice center for them. Peyton Pritchard's having a career year on the wing. Derek White. This is a team that really competes 1 through 10. And when I look at the East, the Knicks, I don't believe that Karl-Anthony Towns can be the number 2 on a championship winning team. Detroit, I think, lacks a lot of three-point shooters, even though Cade Cunningham is a superstar. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the Cavs and the Sixers. The Sixers don't play a lot of defense. And Donovan Mitchell and James Harden, two guys, especially in James Harden. James Harden's last 3 game 7s, he's averaged 13 points per game. So everyone talks about James Harden's here. They're going to go to the NBA Finals. I don't believe that. Yeah. I do think Boston has the perfect blend of veteran leadership and stars.
Is Jason Tatum going to look like Jason Tatum?
Well, that's what it's contingent on.
I mean, these injuries are so significant. I know players come back from them quicker than they ever have. And I know we've had like an epidemic of this injury in the NBA. But like this is a real deal injury, right? The Achilles is a real deal injury. He's a very good player. At his best, he's one of the best. He really is. To me, Achilles is a little bit like Tommy John, where I'm not saying it's a career ender, but it feels like it's going to take time. And also, there are indicators. I haven't seen it recently, but I remember seeing at one point, like pre-Achilles, post-Achilles for NBA players. Now, a lot of these guys do it in their 30s, not in their 20s. There's no comparison traditionally with pre-post Achilles injuries in the NBA. So that would worry me. But again, even a 65% Tatum maybe put you over the top.
And I'm curious how, remember when they won the championship, there was a lot made of who's the best player, Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum? Because Brown was left off that Olympics team, even though he was coming off being finals MVP over Derek White and over Jason Tatum.
Tatum was the reason why they won the Olympics.
Riding the vine all day.
That was a monster.
I almost wonder if this might screw with them a little bit, though, because they've made it this year, this far with Brown as the man, and now you're essentially not right away, but probably within a 2-week period, you're going to ask him to step aside and, be Robin again and let Tatum be Batman.
And it is going to take away shots from Pritchard. So, I see it.
But it is Boston, where culturally and just from a pedigree perspective, it ain't the Pelicans. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to trust a franchise to figure it out, I'm absolutely trusting the Boston. They'll be very good. I'm with you. I don't know if they'll make the finals, but they'll be very good. Next question.
Aaron Rodgers said he's undecided on his future. Is Pittsburgh better off with him returning or not returning at all?
It depends if the Steelers finally want to get a quarterback, because the Steelers every year either make the playoffs and lose, or they barely miss the playoffs. Came down to that game against the Ravens with the missed field goal this year. Then they get shellacked by Houston 30-6 at home in the playoffs. I don't get the Aaron Rodgers thing. This is not a Super Bowl contending team. Mike McCarthy, I don't really get the Mike McCarthy hire either, because I thought you were going to build this up from the ground and mentor a young quarterback. Outside of if you think that Kyler Murray can have a second act to his career, a la Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, and Baker Mayfield, I would try to, if there's tanking in the NFL, Dante Moore's coming out next year. Arch Manning, Jade Mava, Lenore Sellers. The Pittsburgh Steelers since Big Ben have not had a franchise quarterback, and the only way to get that is to lose a bunch of games and be picking at the top of the draft. So no, I would not bring Aaron Rodgers back.
Well, you don't need to tank with Mike McCarthy.
He'll do it for you.
I'm kidding. But again, is he one of the game's preeminent head coaches right now?
No.
Absolutely not. But I would say this: there's almost the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. You have to understand how good it is. They're not going to do it. They will not tank a season away. The people of Western Pennsylvania will not allow it. I mean, there's so much pride. There's so much respect for their successes. Of all the franchises, I say that. There's others that wouldn't do it, in my opinion, either. There's 10 teams, I buy it. You would just do it if it made sense.
The Jets will
There's
do
another
it.
10 you shouldn't consider it. And I would put Pittsburgh towards the top of that list, just like the pride factor for the franchise. I think they'll try. Now, I'm with you. Like, being a middling franchise is not a good look in professional sports anymore because it's hard to get towards the top when you're just in the middle.
And Rodgers will win you a few games.
I said yesterday with Brian, I mean, you're going 9-8 or 8-9, aren't you? That's probably what you're doing. But I mean, of course, they're not winning at a high level, right? With Aaron Rodgers.
No, probably not. There's better options this year.
Yeah.
It's like you said, you can go out there and go get, Jimmy Garoppolo, go get, Kyler Murray, maybe give him another chance. I think they'll do something stupid, just kind of like how they did with the McCarthy hire.
They'll go get Tua.
No, dumber. Come on down, Malik Willis.
Yes, pay him $30 million a year.
Somebody's gonna overpay for Malik Willis. It's either gonna be the Dolphins or the Steelers.
Do you think Aaron Rodgers is just, hey, let me be story 1 or 2 on ESPN.com another 4 times? That's why I'm doing this. Or is he really? What is he contemplating?
Well,
what are you contemplating?
That's the point. Is he can't really think that Pittsburgh is a Super Bowl winning team. So
of course not.
I would get it if you were playing on a team where it's like it was stacked and hey, maybe if I just played at a high level, I'd get over the top. I mean, Burrow's back in the picture. Lamar and the Ravens aren't going to be as hurt, so you're at least finishing third in that division. I don't get it from Rodgers' perspective.
I mean, yeah. The other thing is, like you just said, like Pittsburgh doesn't have a Super Bowl roster, or Pittsburgh doesn't have a Super Bowl quarterback, even if they had Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
I mean, I'm telling you, Sammy, you could have the best roster of football. You put Aaron Rodgers on it right now. I don't know if that is putting you over the top. Dude it's old and tired. We've gone through his postseason career is all predicated on one run. It was 15 years ago. And again, has he been a great regular season quarterback? Absolutely. Has he done it recently in recent history? Yes. It hasn't been forever ago, but you're starting to push up on,
we would talk about him the same way we talk about Josh Allen, except that Aaron Rodgers got 1 ring. So he evades a lot of that criticism.
He does evade a lot of it. He does.
And I brought up yesterday that I think it's only a matter of time before his arm just drops off and goes away.
That too.
Right. And he's 42 years old.
Yeah. I think he'll be 43 when the season starts. So
he can throw. I mean, but at some point,
remember Peyton Manning at the end when he literally could barely throw a ball 30 yards.
He already lost his legs, which was a big part of him being able to scramble in the pocket and a big part of his game. So that's already gone. If he loses the howitzer for an arm, then he's screwed. So
he will be 43 in season. He would be 43 in the regular season if he did return for his 100th season in the National Football League. Sammy, good job with the rap, dude. That's
thank you for having me. I'm honored that you two would have me for the rap.
It's my
favorite.
We appreciate you hanging out. All right, Sammy Long's going to make his way out. Brian Dutcher's joining us live at 6 p.m. On the other side, we also have another giveaway for you. A pair of tickets to the BNP Paribas Open underway right now at Indian Wells. We're here until 6. Don't go anywhere. It's San Diego Sports 760. We're live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Let me turn my microphone off. San Diego Sports 760 congratulates our $5,000 winners. iHeartRadio's Thank a Teacher, powered by Donors Choose. There's still time for you to nominate a public school teacher making a difference. And now Donors Choose will match up to $150,000 in listener donations. Go to iHeartRadio.com/teacher and enter the code Thank a Teacher, and they will match any donation up to $200. Wow. Help us say thank you to the educators shaping our future now at iHeartRadio.com/teachers. I had lost my train of thought over the course of the last hour. We've talked about a little bit of everything, but there was an update out of Padres spring training today. Again, they scored 27 runs, which is ridiculous, obviously, but it's a spring training game. So you're thinking everything's great. They hit the most, I think they had 8 home runs. It might have been 9, but 8 would have set a franchise record if it was a regular season game.
So naturally, they won't score another run until after the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah, exactly. But the story, probably the most significant story coming out of it, is that one of their offseason signees, the Korean Sungmoon Song, has tightness in his oblique. This is the oblique he injured in the offseason that they kind of slow played, which made sense because it was the offseason. Craig Stammen called his early exit today precautionary, quote unquote. But there's the point. There's spring training for you in a nutshell. You can beat someone by 22 runs. You'd prefer to just have the players healthy. Like, if you told me the opposite happened today and the Mariners won 27-5 and the Padres came out of it feeling like the best version of themselves, I'd be like, all good. No Machado, no Tatis. You're 3 weeks out. It's the son of Peoria. All good. Trust me, it doesn't matter. Trust me, they're fine. Where on the other side, it's like, yeah, it's great. I mean, 27 runs, of course, that's great. But you got to be healthy, and it's impossible, by the way. There'll be minor bumps and bruises along the way. There's pitchers that will deal with things over these 3 or 4 weeks. This is the time of the year where you do want to have caution, of course. Of course you do. And again, there's an inevitability to it. What you're really hoping for is your stars aren't hurt in spring training to impact then your regular season. Now, a number of your stars are out because of the WBC. They just showed actually Fernando Tatis Jr. in a batting cage. Are they playing tonight? Oh, no, no, they're not, because the Dominican schedule, they open Friday. It's on TV against Nicaragua. So, yeah, you want your stars healthy, and they do have stars in camp. They got guys like Jackson Merrill right now in camp. But again, inevitable. Of course, there was going to be an injury report. You just want to limit the number of injuries and the severity of the injury. Because last year, Darvish, right? Like, hey, he's hurt. And then that basically became like a season-long problem, obviously, for the Padres. See Manny Machado on our screen right now, Brad, as the Dominican Republic WBC team prepares to play in Miami coming up tomorrow against Nicaragua, as Fernando Tatis Jr. has been living his best life.
Yeah, there's only one game today. Australia plays Czechia.
I think wasn't there already a game?
Yeah, apparently Chechnya has 2 teams because they played Korea and lost 11-4.
Yeah, but it might have been like one of those things where it was like a different time zone. So it was like midnight. So they're kind of playing twice in one day, but they're not.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? Because of the time zones, it looks like they're playing twice in our U.S. day, but it's actually like a night and a day game.
Yeah, that's my team, because that's the one that's filled with like factory workers and
is that
yeah.
Czech, what we would have commonly referred to as Czech Republic?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. But yeah, this tournament is underway. I mean, to be fair, I'm intrigued. I am. I'm not. And again, I need to be honest with I'm not going to tell you it's the event I've circled for the entire year, and this is what I have to watch. But we're going to get into it, and the U.S. is going to have their players that we're all familiar with, including a Padre like Mason Miller, and the Dominican's going to have Tatis and Machado. And I'm in for it. Again, to me, it's not can't miss. I don't think at this point pool play for the Nicaragua Dominican game or the Italy U.S. game, but you give me a matchup. You give me U.S. against the Dominican in a semifinal. I'm making it up. I don't know if it's possible. And you got Machado and Tatis, and you have the U.S. side, and it's on at 5:00 Pacific or something. Absolutely, I'm very intrigued, and I think it'll bring a lot of eyeballs to television.
I think it might be similar to like people's viewing habits with like the Olympics. nobody really gets too into like a lot of the sports that are on like the first couple days, but then by, maybe the end of the first week, somewhere into the second week, then you might start getting into some of the other events when they start. So I don't know if people get, like you said, super gassed about, pool play, but I think once we leave pool play and get into like the quarters and stuff like that, then I think people will, the interest will peak.
Like, do you think, here's the reason I kind of bring it up right now, and I'm curious to hear from our listeners on it. Like tomorrow's game against Brazil, Brent, the U.S. game against Brazil is on Fox, not FS1, not FS2, not Tubi, which has some of these games, but Fox. FOX, like the one that airs like NFC title games and Super Bowls. Like, is that going to bring a big number? US Brazil, WBC opener, 8:00 Eastern, 5:00 Pacific. Are people intrigued because they haven't seen baseball in 4 months? Are they intrigued because they haven't seen the WBC in 3 years?
I would say maybe just because look at what it's going to be going against.
Yeah, it's a Friday night.
Regionally, fans in the East Coast might tune in for Jason Tatum's, return tomorrow in Boston.
True.
But if you're not an NBA guy or you're just not like a Celtics guy, you probably won't be too into that. But other than that, it's not like there's no big name college basketball game, tomorrow night, or so they'll have the whole slate to themselves. So I think it'll do pretty decent ratings.
Yeah, it may. And listen, Fox knows a lot more about it than I do. I do think, a credit to baseball, this event has really grown, right? From when it debuted within the last 20 years to where it is today. I wouldn't put it on the scale of, like, how do you compare the WBC to other like world events? It's that we had this conversation, Brent, last week. This is not Olympic hockey, in my opinion. It's not Olympic basketball, in my opinion. But then again, it's not the WBC's fault. It's not the Olympics. Obviously, it's not touching anything World Cup related. I mean, that's not even a conversation worth having. So I'm trying to compare it to other sporting events of its kind. And I don't know what is of its kind, truthfully. Football doesn't have something like this, obviously, because it's such an American game.
I would say it's almost like USA basketball, when not the Olympics, what they call the World Championships.
Oh, yeah, like the FIBA World Cup and stuff?
Yeah, to where maybe that, because it's not really the Olympics, but like after
like
the Olympics in terms of like international, like, country versus country basketball, that's like the second biggest thing. Because we care if we win that or if we lose it.
Are people watching that, though?
No, you're just looking for a comparison.
Well, I'll give you a comp. Tell me if you think this is a good comp. Neither you or I have a lot of like experience with this event, but within the last 2 years, that Four Nations hockey event.
Oh yeah,
that thing was massive for hockey fans, and it actually broadened out to just reach sports fans. Like sports fans were talking about that. I wonder if that is quasi comparable. Not only Four Nations. This is many more.
The only thing with the Four Nations, though, is I wonder if that would have been as big if it wasn't for the Canada brawl with the U.S. like ridiculous. 5 seconds into the game.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Because if they just would have played just straight up hockey and as a 4-3 game or something, I don't think anybody would have cared. It was just the fact of, all those fights broke out within like the first 2 minutes of the game, to where like people that don't even care about hockey were like texting people and going, dude, are you checking out this U.S. hockey game? They've only been on for like 2 minutes. They've gotten like 7 fights already. That's awesome.
Funny. That's funny. Will you be watching the WBC, which basically gets underway tomorrow, by and large tomorrow, including with the U.S.? Will you be watching 70470? Start it with the word team. We're going to hear from Miles Bird on the other side. His thoughts on the Mountain West heading into the conference tournament that kicks off next week, and also heading into his senior night. It's his 4th year. He's a redshirt junior. He still has another year of college eligibility. But we're going to hear from Miles Bird on the Mountain West on the other side. Plus, Brian Dutcher joins us live at 6 p.m. for the Brian Dutcher Show. If you've got a question for Dutch, you can text us 70470. Start it with the word team. This is San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Taco Bell. In NFL news, the Bills are sending a second-round pick to the Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is scheduled to make a base salary of $23.5 million in this season. In NBA news, Celtics superstar Jason Tatum is expected to make his NBA season debut tomorrow night against Dallas. Tatum's return will come less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles tendon in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Brian Dutcher Show is tonight at 6:00. The head coach and John will preview tomorrow night's senior night game against UNLV and more. And following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, we've got Lakers basketball against Denver. Taco Bell's new Lux Value menu has 10 lavish indulgences, all $3 or less. It's easy to get carried away, like when you try the new mini taco salad. You might ask, do I need a salad fork? The fork in the bag is fine. Lux Value menu at participating locations while supplies last. Price and participation vary. Tax extra.
All right, San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer, Brent Sperry hanging out. Brian Dutcher joining us live at 6 p.m. If you have a question for Dutch, a day out from senior night, you can text us 70470. Start it with the word team. 70470. Start it with the word team. I see a question just came in fact, from 858. So a lot to get into with Dutch. I mean, you've got players that are playing their final game, presumably at Viejas Arena. Guys like Reese Dixon Waters, who's out of college eligibility. I mean, there's a world where you don't make an NCAA tournament. You're playing a postseason tournament, although you can't even play at Viejas by and large because the NCAA tournament is there the week after conference tournaments this year. Yeah, so there's a lot to get into with Dutch, and we will.
I wonder, senior night's always emotional night for, players and coaches and stuff like that. I wonder if Dutch has any particular senior night throughout his career that maybe sticks out as being more emotional than others.
Dutch is so good, Brent, and you hear me say this all the time, like where he's just like, he just is in that. He's the same person, he's never emotionally high. He's never like the opposite of that. He's just very consistent, and maybe not when he was younger. We didn't know him. I didn't know him as a young coach or his time at Michigan. So maybe that's changed. Maybe it's just the benefit of time and experience. But senior night, because I asked him a little bit earlier about it today because there was media availability. And the thing with senior night that's weird is like you have all the pomp and circumstance and your families and the pictures. And then it's like 2 minutes later, all right, huddle up. So you can't really, you have to be able to like separate those two events. If you're a player, it's like, wow, I've been waiting for this moment. I've watched other players go through this. This is a big deal. My mom and dad are in town. My aunt and uncle are in town. My brother and sister are here. And it's a celebration of my time in my career and for Aztec fans. And that's like, hey, how do we beat this 2-3 zone? So it is kind of an interesting thing. And the Aztecs have been very good under Brian Dutcher on senior nights. I mean, extremely good. And we'll see if that holds true again when they play again tomorrow night against UNLV. Just a very intriguing game, man. If you've been watching UNLV, they're like, I don't even know how to describe them. Helter skelter, up and down, Jekyll Hyde. They can be everything within one game. They can look great. They can look the opposite of that. But they're playing well right now. And they just beat Utah State, for example, by 27, in Vegas just a couple of days ago. All right. Speaking of the Aztecs, I want to hear from Miles Bird. This was earlier today at media availability. I think he was asked about where the Aztecs currently stand, because last night the Aztecs got a result that benefited them. It was Colorado State over New Mexico, which keeps San Diego State alive for a share of a regular season title. And this is what Bird had to say about the Mountain West.
Mountain West hoops. I mean, I think any better would be an idiot to bet on the Mountain West. You never know what's going to happen in this league. Obviously, Colorado State's been playing great basketball, 8 wins in a row after last night. So you can't count anybody out. I didn't watch full of the game. I put it on, I think, wanted to say in the second half. And from my perspective, New Mexico was a better team in the game because they were playing really well when I put the game on. But, obviously Colorado State did what they needed to do to go into the pit and win that game. And I think they won with 20 turnovers. So, unorthodox game, but tip your cap to Colorado State. They're playing great basketball right at the perfect time. And, now New Mexico is going to have chip on their shoulder going into Utah on Saturday, which is, if we can take care of business tomorrow night, would be a huge one if New Mexico can pull out a win.
To quote Miles Bird, you'd be an idiot to bet on the Mountain West. And what he says holds some truth to it, because it has been, there's a little bit of like a saying, with the Pac-12, everyone knows the saying Pac-12 after dark. It's lesser known. It's another night in the Mountain West, which means it's late night in the Mountain West. Anything can happen. And that has definitely been the case here down the stretch this year in the league.
That sounds like the quote that should be on like the back of a gambling book or something. Like Norman's like, oh, this is the best baseball book ever. It's just be like, you're an idiot if you bet on the Mountain West, Miles Bird.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So, and we'll talk to Dutch about this at 6 p.m. I don't think anyone would be surprised if any of the top 8 teams won it. Say 8 teams, John. You're just saying that. I'm not just saying that, because the teams that are 5 through 8, you could argue, are playing better than the teams 1 through 4 right now. Like Colorado State, they're not finishing in the top 4 because they started 3-8 in the league. They've won 8 straight. Boise, they're not finishing in the top 4. They've won 4 straight and are 9-3 in their last 12. UNLV, I just told you, they're playing better. They've swept Utah State. So it's Utah State, New Mexico, and San Diego State have been tripped up late. Those teams behind them are playing better late. I didn't mention Grand Canyon or Nevada. So I think there's 8 teams. I think beyond that, there's Wyoming, there's San Jose State, there's Fresno State. That'd be very surprising to me if one of those teams won the league. I'm not saying it's impossible. It is impossible, obviously, for Air Force to win the league. They haven't won a game this year in the Mountain West. But the other 3 teams, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just very unlikely. So, yeah, I think it's an 8-team race. But guess what? San Diego State's one of those 8 teams. So, it's Vegas. Roll the dice is what I would say. And I wonder also, Brian, do you wonder this? Like last year they went to Vegas on the bubble and they lost in the quarterfinals. Like you could argue that they were tight because they knew they had everything to lose. Yeah, they had a lot to gain. If you win the Mountain West tournament, you're in. But they had a lot to lose because they were probably on the inside, on the inside track, and you're just kind of hold on for dear life to that. This year, you don't have an inside track. So it's like nothing to lose is more the mentality. And like you got to play your best. Last year, they didn't play their best in the quarterfinals. Guess what? They still made the NCAA tournament. This year, they don't play their best in the quarterfinals. That'll do it, at least from an NCAA tournament conversation.
Yeah, they're going to have to make it farther than that this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think we're at the point where they're going to have to win the Mountain West tournament. I mean, it would be very surprising if they got in otherwise. Like, obviously, they'd need to beat UNLV and then beat whomever else and beat someone else and losing the Mountain West title game. They'd be on the outside there. It would be very surprising. Committee can do surprising things. Sometimes there's one team you're like, oh, really? So the committee can do surprising things, but it would be very surprising in my opinion. I think the team feels the same way. I think they feel as if they've had opportunities they didn't take advantage of. That's fair. They didn't. So, and again, it doesn't mean as we sit here today, everything is lost because they still can. There is a path. They just have to play well next week. And I think it actually does start tomorrow against UNLV. Like, are you going to play poorly tomorrow and then play your best a week from now?
Well, and it's like Sammy said in the first hour, you don't want to go into Vegas losing 6 or 5 out of 6 or whatever it would be if they lose, again tomorrow, because you got to at least have some form of momentum going into Vegas and at least going in there going, okay, we got a, big win on senior night, we're back on track, opposed to, if they go down again on senior night, I just feel like it's going to start to just creep in their heads a little bit, especially for a lot of these guys like Miles, and that I don't think they've ever had a streak where they've lost like
3 in a row,
5 or 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7 or anything like that.
Right.
So for some of them, it might just be swimming around in their head, so to speak, and just kind of they don't know how to deal with it.
Even now, I would guess Miles Bird in his 4th year, they've never had a 5-game stretch going 1-4. I mean, it's national championship, Sweet 16, NCAA tournament, and this team at one point was 12-2 in the Mountain West. So they lost 3 out of 4, Brent, because there was Troy and the 3 games in Vegas, they won 1. So they did lose 3 out of 4 earlier this year. They turned their season around as they got into conference play, and now they've lost 4 out of 5. And can they turn their season around, so to speak, here heading towards the conference tournament. Again, Brian Dutcher joins us live. I see the questions that are coming in. If you've got a question for Dutch, we'll get to it live. You can text us 70470. Start it with the word team. 70470. Start it with the word team. I just saw a question that rolled in from the 619 for the Brian Dutcher show. So we'll get to all these. It's 858 and 619. We'll get to these coming up at 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. I promised this hour we'd give away a pair of tickets to the BNP Paribas Open, and we'll do that on the other side right here on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. All right, Brian Dutcher will join us coming up at 6 p.m. We do have these BNP Paribas tickets to give away, and we will do that coming up this hour. So we'll do that in the next 10 minutes. Again, 70470, start it with the word team. And again, we'll give away these tickets to the BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells coming up as well shortly. Man, I just lost my train of thought. I had something that was so, I know it is, off the text line that I wanted to react to. Okay, this was the comp. Remember, we were talking about the WBC comp? Like, well, it wasn't off the text line. It's actually on social media. Here it is from Kyle on social media at Kyle Sandsmark. Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you. He says, what about the WBC comp to something like the Ryder Cup in golf, which is like Europe versus US? Obviously, very, very successful, popular event, good viewership, tons of fanfare. It moves back and forth between the States and Europe. I would probably argue the Ryder, not probably. I think golf fans would tell you the Ryder Cup is much more significant than the WBC is for baseball fans. But I like that comp. I like that because, yeah, I mean, the idea of the WBC was a very good one. I don't know if I necessarily saw it 20 years ago. I would have been like, shit, why? So the US and Japan could just play baseball together? Like at that point, just have a World Series that is the champion of the Nippon Professional Baseball League and a champion of Major League Baseball. But now that I've watched it play out, it's been more than a 2-team event, I would say. It's probably grown the game worldwide.
I don't know. I like the WBC just because, for a while they didn't really have consistent, like Olympic baseball. Some Olympics they would have baseball, some Olympics they wouldn't have baseball, and they would just send amateurs there, so it wasn't really appointment viewing or anything like that. So this was just kind of like, well, what if we do the Olympics but practically with just major leaguers and on a somewhat smaller scale, because we're not going to sit there and have countries that don't play baseball, but we're going to have them send a baseball team just to send a baseball team. So I kind of like that just because, we don't really get a lot of baseball representation in the Olympics. Like I said, it feels like some years, they'll have it. Then others years, it's just like, we're not doing baseball this year.
Well, and we've touched on that because we're 2 years out from the LA Summer Games and the baseball is going to be hosted at Dodger Stadium. And it's the thing I don't like about the upcoming Olympic Games is it's a 6-nation event. You're giving out 3 medals and it's a 6-nation event. So you got a 50-50 shot, heading in. But I think I've reached the point, Brent, now that I'm watching the WBC, I think I have to have major leaguers in the Olympics. How could you have the Olympics with baseball in LA and not have major league stars? I think I've reached the point where you have to have that. What do you got?
Well, it says right here, after 1988, it didn't become an official medal sport until 92. And then from 92 to 08, it was an official medal sport. But then from 08, it disappeared until they brought it back until Tokyo in 2020.
Yep.
So,
and they didn't use major leaguers though in 2020, obviously. So yeah, I think if you're gonna do it, we're in this world now, Brent, where like everything is about like capturing people's attention, for better or worse. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you the world we live in. We scroll through things waiting for something to catch our eye. It's all algorithmically based. It's a 2-second trend. It's almost like a 2-second transaction. Can I capture your attention in 2 seconds or not? You're a goldfish. Will you look at me for 2 seconds or for 8 seconds? So knowing that we're living in that world, you can't have A-ballers in the WBC and you can't have A-ballers in the Olympics. I worked in A-ball for 5 years. I worked in AAA for 9+ years. I worked in the minor leagues, believe it or not. And I respect that the journey. A lot of future Hall of Famers started in A-ball. Basically, everyone started in the minor leagues. There are a lot of amateurs that became professionals that you understand it. But I'm just saying, if you're going to capture people's attention and you're in LA or with the WBC right now, nobody's watching the WBC if it's a bunch of Padres farmhands. Now, Brazil might be Padres farmhands, but we still have Shohei Ohtani on Team Japan. We still have Manny Machado on the Dominican team, and we still have American stars, on Team USA. So I think and it's not even a conversation worth having. There's no way they're going to have Olympic baseball in LA with dudes from AA, although it does have to be negotiated between the owners and the union. It's not just like, hey, have major leaguers, but there's no way you're going to have all these guys sit at home, I wouldn't think.
No, and like to bring up the USA basketball again, it's just like nobody was watching when we were just sending college kids.
Yep.
And we're just, sending, AAU superstars and, stuff like that, kids that were 19 years old, and, nobody was watching it. It took us to just pretty much send, an NBA All-Star team to the Olympics every year to get people to watch it. And I think half the reason why people watched it was just by how bad we kicked everyone's ass, to where it's just like,
true.
Really, we won by 60 points, and then they had to tune it in just to see, how do you beat a team by 60 points?
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I mean, it's just interesting. I've said this before with I love a good international sporting event. I think we both got into the Winter Olympics. I thought the Winter Olympics were good television this year. And again, am I watching alpine skiing in 2027? I'm not. But do I find it intriguing? I thought they did a good job with the coverage. The drone stuff was really good. I think Mike Tirico or the human interest stories are compelling enough. So I've always liked that level of sport. But like I said just a few minutes ago, you got to draw me in. You got to give me a reason now. And we all feel it, Brent. We've lived in both of these worlds. We grew up when we didn't have 100 options available at our fingertips. We had some television channels, we had some radio. We figured it out. We found something that we would enjoy. We didn't have the internet at our fingertips. Now is the exact opposite of that. It's the exact opposite. There's too much, man. I bookmark podcasts. I save audio. I watch video. I have TV shows. I have sporting events. You have too much. You got to choose. And when you're giving people choices, you got to make it so compelling that I need to make this choice. That's the world that we basically live in right now.
Well, the world now, they have to make it compelling enough to get people off their phone.
That too.
It's like people always kind of talk about, TV shows and stuff these days, about how TV shows will literally explain what is going on in the show so that you don't have to look up from your phone and you can still tell what's going on.
Point.
Because they can't get people to just put their phone down
for the entirety
45 minutes
Yep.
to where they have to constantly be dumping exposition and stuff like that. So that, while you're on Facebook or X or whatever, you can still understand that, we're trying to build a bilateral bridge to, another dimension or whatever is going on in the show. They're going to specifically just keep bringing it up and just saying it out loud when it doesn't need to be, just because they know you're not listening.
Yeah, completely. No, it's exactly right. That is exactly right. All right. In the 5 o'clock hour for you here today, if you missed our earlier conversation with Kendra D. St. Aubin from Apple TV, getting us ready for SDFC this weekend, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760 against Sporting Kansas City. We'll share that with you coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. In addition, call right now if you want 2 free tickets to the BNP Paribas Open underway at Indian Wells. Caller 3, you have 2 free tickets going on through March 15th. You can call 877-767-4760 if you want 2 free tickets to the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells. Each March, the Coachella Valley transforms into the epicenter of the tennis universe as the best players in the world descend on Indian Wells for the BNP Paribas Open. Fans experience the magical tennis of world-class stars like Carlos Alcaraz, Coco Gauff, and more as they take center stage at the famed courts of Indian Wells Tennis Garden. Caller 3, you have 2 free tickets going on right now at Indian Wells. 877-767-4760. Final hour before the Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. is next on San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. In NFL news, the Bills sent a second-round draft pick to the Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is scheduled to make a base salary of $23.5 million this season. Celtics superstar Jason Tatum is expected to make his NBA season debut tomorrow night against the Mavericks in Boston. Tatum's return will come less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles tendon in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semis. Tonight at 6 o'clock, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. John and the head coach will preview tomorrow night's senior night game against UNLV and more. And following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, we're going to have Lakers basketball when they take on the Nuggets. Spring deals are popping up early at Lowe's. Get 4 bags of STA green 2 cubic foot mulch for just $10. Plus save $20 on any Ego 56 volt string trimmer, now just $199. Only at Lowe's, valid through 3/18. Mulch offer excludes Hawaii. Selection varies by location while supplies last.
All right, San Diego Sports 760, final hour. Brian Dutcher is going to join us coming up at 6 p.m. There's an interesting question on the text line. There's a couple of things from Kevin Acey that we'll get to this hour as well, as he wrote about against Sungmoon Song. The Padres scored 27 runs today. You kind of wish it was Game 5 of the NLDS. You know what I mean? But it's not. It's March 5th. But they scored 27 runs. Great. You know,
just trade all the WBC guys. We don't need them.
Yeah,
apparently.
Exactly.
That's what we learned today.
What they have close to 30. I don't even know the total hit number. It was at least 28. They had 28 earlier. It might have been more than that. Whatever. Amazing day. And by the way, a lot of major leaguers contributing, right? We talked Jake Cronenworth and Freddie Fermin and Jackson Merrill. It wasn't just A-ball guys, but it wasn't, to your point, Manny Machado or Fernando Tatis. What do you got?
I say, what do you think would cause a bigger Padres overreaction? Their 27 runs by what was left of the team that didn't go to WBC, or say Xander Bogaerts hits 3 home runs tomorrow for the Netherlands?
You know what I've been saying about the WBC is if that does happen, then I want to see that player in the major leagues too. I don't just want to see Xander have a big.
Yeah, I know that's my point.
Yeah, I'm all for Xander hitting 3 home runs the next 3 days for the Netherlands, but I hope that's a sign of what we'll see and not just some outlier. That's what.
That's what I mean. To where it's just like if he hits 3 home runs tomorrow, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh my God,
He's
Xander's back. He can hit clean off."
He could exactly. So again. So you score 27 runs, which is great. The bad news is you lose one of your, I guess, reserve position players, Sungmoon Song, who you acquired from Korea this offseason, that they're high on. I think he could play a role for them immediately, but he's been dealing with an oblique injury this offseason and now this spring, and he left today due to tightness. So, that's a little bit concerning. The other injury updates here, because I said earlier, every spring there are injuries. Of course, it's inevitable. It's not to be like, oh my gosh, they suffered an injury. Every team has them. Remember, we talked about Matt Waldron. Unfortunately, the reason as to why, based on Craig Stammen, what he had to say about him, right?
Which made Us Weekly and a bunch of other more embarrassing
Matt
places
Waldron
last week.
Had hemorrhoid surgery, which nobody would have ever known if not for Craig Stammen, because he initially said that he had an infection. He could have just said infection. Of course, nobody would have ever known. In fact, I've rarely have heard of hemorrhoid surgery as an infection, but whatever, right? So, but here's the update. He did throw a bullpen today, and this comes 2 weeks after basically, leaving camp. Now, I actually thought it was less time than that, but maybe he was experiencing some of these symptoms for a few days, wasn't pitching, had this surgery, has since recovered to some extent. The shame of this for Matt Waldron is it's going to cost him a chance to compete for a job to start the year. Now, he's also out of options, which means that once he's active, he's got to either be placed on the major league roster or be available to other teams. So if he's not fully healthy, you could still have him on an IL to start a year. And again, we're talking about, 6th, 7th, 8th starting pitching options, which all good teams have. Like the Padres will want depth. They'll want someone like Matt Waldron available to them, I would think, but he's out of options. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next. for Waldron. And then there's Jason Adam, who, remember, he had that freak injury. It was a ruptured quad. Man, I had honestly, Brent, in sports and cover, I don't know if I had really heard of that one. When I think about sports injuries, it's like a bojack. Like
I
it's
have
not injury.
I have, because it happens a lot in professional wrestling.
Okay, all right.
Vince McMahon famously once they screwed up an ending to a match, and Vince came storming out, and he meant to just slide under the rope like they do to get into the ring, and then he was going to yell at him and sell everything and try and clean up the botch. And when he slid in, he tore both his quads sliding in.
Wow.
So he had to sit there on his butt and yell at them while he's on the ground because he couldn't stand up. So yeah, that's like a common like professional wrestling injury for some reason.
Well, here's what's interesting about the situation. The situation with Jason Adam is, he's coming back from this quad, but the reason he was out of camp is the birth of his 5th daughter. So he was back in San Diego, and he's not. Here's what's crazy: this quad injury was second half last year, and I remember at the time they're like, he's going to be fine. It's not arm, which was the good news, but like this is such a big injury that this could keep him out until the middle of next year. They've said this now for weeks on end that he is on track to be available to them opening day. Now, maybe not to the same extent where primary relievers could pitch 3 out of every 4 days. When you need them. Maybe it's more like, hey, you're going to throw, you're going to get the required 3 days off. You'll throw, you'll get 3 days off. Then a week later, you'll throw, you'll get 2 days off, and so on and so forth. But that's really encouraging. And the Padres bullpen is completely loaded. If you were to add Jason Adam from day one to it, I never expected that. I really didn't. And again, I think they'll be cautious. Of course they will be. But what a coup, so to speak. And then same thing with Musgrove, if he's healthy. Again, I'm not expecting peak performance day one Musgrove, but what a shot in the arm, so to speak, to have him available potentially from day one. So certain things may be good news. Like again, like you've got Jason Adam maybe available to day one. We'll see about Musgrove. And then other things, Sung-Moon Song, all right, reserve infielder, outfielder, dealing with no bleak. You still have 3 weeks. He could be absolutely fine in 3 weeks. And then Matt Waldron, again, he was never, to be fair to Matt Waldron, he's played a role. He had a half season stretch with the Padres 2 years ago where he was good, but we weren't counting on Matt Waldron to start 2026. By we, I mean Padres fans. I don't think you were really thinking that he was going to play a large role. And it is, honestly, the situation he's dealt with is unfortunate because it's been so public. And hopefully he's fine, and hopefully he can help this team is what I would say there. But again, this isn't the thing, Brent, that's going to give you any type of pause for the Padres season. Matt Waldron not being available from day one is my point.
No, Waldron's kind of going to be one of those things where it's sort of like what it was last year with having a brain fart now with the pitcher that they signed for practically nothing. That was he's their best pitcher last year. Pivetta.
Oh, Pivetta, yeah.
It's going to be somewhat similar to Pivetta. We weren't really expecting what we got from Pivetta last year, so I think we might not be expecting him to come out there and be an ace or anything like that. But I think he could exceed our expectations, and,
right?
Kind of like what Nick Pivetta did last year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, and by the way, this is also the time in camp where you're finally getting to like cut days, because there was they started with 75 guys, and then you had players leave for the WBC, so maybe that protected some players for a few more days. But now they're fine. They've actually started to make some cuts. So this is the time, and eventually they'll have decisions to make. I mean, there's guys fighting for like a Ty France. I mean, there's guys fighting for jobs right now. Back here, maybe your last reliever, your last position player, of course, this 5th starter. So that's where we are right now in camp. I mean, you're going to pare this thing down over the next 3 weeks. They have less than 3 weeks of spring training games because opening day is 3 weeks from today at home against Detroit. And they'll be without these WBC players for, the next week and a half, potentially. And then opening day will be here before we know it. I'm glad we get the WBC this year, because otherwise it's a slow, drawn out process by now. But at least now you can talk about 2 things. You can talk about Padres and the WBC and the event itself, plus what's playing out in Peoria, health, everything else.
And it saves us a week of split squad.
Yeah, the split squad games.
We won't have those until they come back.
Yep, that's exactly right. So, I mean, March 26th, it's crazy because you basically, March used to be reserved for like March Madness, and it still is nationally. It's this massive sporting event. But You get Selection Sunday, which is a week from Sunday, March 15th. The tournament basically starts that Thursday for most. I know it starts Tuesday, Wednesday, but most Americans are like, I'm all in come Thursday. That's March 19th. That's 1 week before opening day. It used to be, remember this, when the national championship came on that Monday, that would coincide with like the start of Major League Baseball right then, within like a day. And now we're about, I don't know, 10 days in front of that. At least a week. We're a week in front of where it used to be, and it's probably more like 8 or 9 days. They've added in more off days during the regular season. They've started the postseason a day or two earlier with that wild card format. So they don't want to play the World Series in November. Understandable. And they want to give teams more off days in season to keep them at their peak. So in San Diego, it's fine playing March 26th. In Boston, in Chicago, in Minnesota, it's harder. But I think a number of those teams typically will open in a dome or on the road. But you can't avoid it. I mean, the Chicago Cubs are coming home. You can't keep them on the road for 3 weeks. So come April 3rd, I know this, the Cubs will be playing a home game if they're going to start on the road March 26th. But yeah, I mean, some of me is like, man, they keep moving it up, but I'm ready for it. It feels like it's been a while since we've seen the Padres. I mean, October 2nd was a while ago. Yeah, they were in the postseason. But yeah, their first playoff game was in September. It was like September 30th, October 1st, October 2nd, and then that was it. So it's been a while since we've seen the Padres, at least in the regular season. There are games that count. And thankfully, we'll have it sooner rather than later, just 3 weeks from today back at Petco Park. Hopefully another gorgeous opening day for the Padres downtown here in San Diego. All right, if you did miss it earlier, we caught up with Kendra D. St. Aubin. She is a analyst for Apple TV, MLS on Apple TV. And of course, SDFC continues its season this weekend, Saturday, 5:30. You can hear the match right here on San Diego Sports 760. And she helps preview that match. And if you missed it, you'll hear it coming up at 5:30. Also, if you have a question for Brian Dutcher here tonight, you can text us 70470. Start your message with the word team. 70470. Start it with the word team. Brian Dutcher joining us live coming up at 6 p.m. here tonight. So don't go anywhere. San Diego Sports 760. We are live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760 on this Thursday afternoon. Aztec Hoops tomorrow, by the way, at 7 p.m. Pregame coverage at 6. You know what that means for the show tomorrow, Brett? I'll be here from 2 to 4. J-Riff filling in from 4 to 6. Ben Fletcher's got your pregame coverage at 6 p.m. Speaking of the Aztecs, Brian Dutcher show coming up at 6 p.m. If you've got a question for Dutch, I see those that are coming in right now on our text line. We'll get your question live on air at 6 p.m. So if you have a question for Dutch, you can get that in right now. 70470, start it with the word team. Again, 70470, start it with the word team. Speaking of the text line, 858 has chimed in, Brent, and said, the Padres will face Tariq Skubal on opening day. I'm scared. But it's baseball. And let me explain what I mean by that. It's not that Skubal won't shove. He may. You know, you have all this excitement. You haven't had a game in 6 months and you lose 3-0 right opening day. Guess what? They play the next day. It's not football where your team lost the Super Bowl and you're so excited for the next season. And then it's week 1 and you lose 17-10 to the Bengals. And you're like, hold on. And now I got to wait 8 days or 7 days to see my team. And they only play 17 games. They'll play 162. So I think, listen, maybe you fare well. It's opening day. You catch them early. You win a close game. But if you don't, I don't know if that one game will be the difference.
And who knows? He's pitching in the WBC. Right. So maybe there'll be a scenario where he won't pitch opening day because he'll pitch something in the WBC or
there's
something
that.
Can happen.
But you're right. I think this is where I've been critical of Skubal, where he's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Where he wants to play for Team USA, admirable. I respect that. I have no issue with it. But he also wants to go back to camp after his one appearance, which will come this week or weekend for Team USA. So roughly 15 to 20 days before opening day, whatever the math is going to be, because he wants to both pitch for Team USA and be available to the Tigers to start the year. I just personally believe that's a tricky putt. It's like you can't always do two things and you can't be all to all. It's like you got to make a decision. It's like, are you going to go to your best friend's wedding or are you going to work? Are you going to work? And I respect you going to your best friend's wedding, but you can't do both sometimes. And that you got to make choices. And I don't know how it's going to work for Skubal. The guy's dominant. The guy's unbelievable. So maybe it's no big deal. He's going to throw 55 pitches against Great Britain. Who cares? Right? Man, he could probably do that in his sleep. And then 15, 20 days later, be capable of throwing 98 pitches and going 7 shutout innings. I mean, that's who he is right now. But I don't know. I just feel like he got a little cute with it because they don't need him pitching in pool play. They need him pitching later towards the start of the regular season, but he doesn't want to do that because he wants to be available to the Tigers. So I say just make your choice. Say, I don't want to play in the WBC. I got to get ready for this year. It's too big of a year for me and my team. Or you say, I want to give it everything I got and I want to win a championship with Team USA.
That's why I'm kind of wondering if he's going to change his mind.
He may.
If once he gets there and he pitches in pool play and he starts maybe getting caught up in, just the whole event and everything else. And, he'd probably have teammates, giving him, crap about leaving and, oh, come on, you should stay, man. We need you, blah, blah, blah. And, he might change his mind. That's kind of what I was getting at too with, maybe he won't be there opening day. Maybe he'll go out there and just shove and be like, I was going to go back early, but, my team needs me. So I'm just going to stay here for an extra week or it's only a week. I'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm making too much of it, like James's point in the chat, maybe I don't know. It just seems a little odd to me. Like, I don't understand the motivation to pitch in pool play against Great Britain because you want a ring or a medal if you win it all.
My guess is that he doesn't want to let anybody down.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't want to let down fans and Americans by not being on Team USA and being part of the team, but he doesn't want to let down his Detroit fans and his teammates by, focusing too much on the WBC and getting hurt or something like that. So I can kind of see how it can be a, tricky conundrum for him to kind of he's trying to keep everybody happy, which in this scenario, I don't know if you can really do that, but I think that's what he's trying.
Yeah. And I respect that. But again, I go back to are Canadians mad at Nick Pivetta for is he pitching in it? Someone is Nick Pivetta? He isn't. I don't think, is he? But like, are Americans mad at Jackson Merrill? Pavetta's not pitching in it, to the best of my knowledge. So you know what I mean? Like, it's like I don't know if anyone would be mad at him or not, but yeah, whatever. To each their own. Ultimately, it actually, you know, what's interesting was what you said, Brent, which is like maybe you get him in, and then ultimately he's like, you know what, I want to do this. I'm all in on this. It reminds me the Aztecs when they went to the championship game 4 seasons ago. That was one of their current assistant coaches was on that team, right? AG Aguicarote. And AG wasn't even going to be on that team that year. He had been dealing with injuries, but Brian Dutch and the staff wanted to keep him around the program because they knew that he could really help them if he ever got healthy on the floor. And he was around them all off season, and then all of a sudden the season started, and he was with them, and he gave it a go, and he was an instrumental piece on that team that ultimately would play for a national championship game. I do wonder kind of if Scoople gets there with his teammates is like, you know what? Like, we started this thing. Let's just finish the job over the next couple of weeks.
There's a lot of former Padres on Team Canada, by the way.
Are there?
Cal Quantrill
yep.
pitches for them. Where is it? Naylor is on Team Canada.
Sure. Yep.
Did Tyler Black play for them for like a minute?
I don't know if he did or not.
But yeah, they have more major leaguers than I thought. Jamison Tallion's on there. Logan Allen.
The answer on Black is no.
Okay.
By the way. Yeah. So anyway, it's a long way of us saying that the WBC gets underway tomorrow for Team USA. It'll get underway tomorrow for Team USA. All right. So on the other side, again, if you missed it earlier, you know, we're the home of SDFC, obviously, and they're coming off this terrific inaugural year where they make the Western Conference Final. They don't just make it, they host it. And now it's like, what do you have in store for an encore? And remarkably, they've arguably started their season better than they did last year. And I don't even know if you can say that, but they're 2-0. They've been dominant in their wins. And now they go to the road. And can they take the show on the road? A year ago, they were dominant on the road. And this weekend on Saturday at 5:30 on San Diego Sports 760, they're playing in Kansas City against Sporting Kansas City. And we had a conversation earlier with Kendra de St. Aubin. She's a commentator for MLS on Apple TV. And if you missed that conversation, you'll hear it on the other side. Her thoughts, not just on SDFC, but what the World Cup will mean for MLS in 2026 and beyond. Also, what the calendar change in MLS will mean for the league and how it's viewed globally. So if you missed our conversation with Kendra de St. Aubin, you'll hear that coming up on the other side. We still have Brent's back page coming up here tonight as well. And then at 6 p.m., Brian Dutcher will join us live for the Brian Dutcher Show from 6 to 7 here on San Diego Sports 760. If you've got a question for Dutch, you can text us 70470. Start it with the word team, and we will get to that live during our show when Dutch joins us at 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. This is San Diego Sports 760. We are live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Hamul Casino. In NFL news, the Bills are sending a second-round pick to the Bears in exchange for wide receiver DJ Moore and a fifth-round pick. Moore is scheduled to make a base salary of $23.5 million in 2026. Celtics superstar Jason Tatum is expected to make his NBA season debut tomorrow night against the Mavericks. Tatum's return comes less than 10 months after tearing his Achilles tendon in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference semis last year. Tonight at 6:00, it's the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. The Aztecs head coach will talk with Jon about tomorrow night's senior night game against UNLV and more. And following the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, we've got Lakers basketball when they take on the Nuggets. Hey, player, the all-new Hamul Casino Resort is all for you. Enjoy a super luxe hotel experience, a super secret speakeasy, an indulgent spa, and an epic rooftop pool. Book your experience at humulcasino.com.
All right, back with you here on San Diego Sports 760. Again, we've got SDFC for you coming up Saturday as well. That'll be against Sporting KC on the road at 5:30, a match you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760. Earlier today, we had a commentator for MLS on Apple TV join us. Kendra D. St. Aubin was on the show earlier today. We started the conversation by asking Kendra her thoughts on the overall success of SDFC in its first 2 years in MLS.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And second of all, craziness what San Diego was able to do. I think anytime an expansion club can come bursting onto the scenes like that, you're thinking, oh, this is just the beginning. No one really knows what to expect. Wait till people figure them out. And nobody seemed to figure them out till almost making it to the final of Major League Soccer, getting dusted in that Western Conference final. But I mean, what they've done, and then you're thinking sophomore slump. Nope, not for the San Diego side. 2-0 in MLS play, flying in CONCACAF Champions Cup. So all good things from Mikey Veras in the San Diego club in year number 2.
What's kind of fascinating, I think locally, when the franchise was debuting last year, a lot of people were kind of enamored with Chucky Lozano, rightfully so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Chucky had impactful moments and put together, I think, what most would consider to be probably a good season, but it didn't really pan out well at the end. And I think there was this general belief, well, without Chucky Lozano, this team isn't going to be the same. How have they been able to maintain their play and form here without Chucky?
Well, I think first and foremost, when you look at Mikey Veras and what he wants to do with the San Diego side, no individual player is ever bigger than the team. And I know a lot of coaches say that. I know a lot of organizations in any sport say that. But I truly believe that's what they're living by. This competition, this going into training every day, this concept that no position is truly safe. And we can see that with the goalkeeper position right now for San Diego. But talking about Chucky Lozano and the impact he had from a name standpoint, absolutely. And in that market, 100%. But then you had players like Anders Dreyer, who's just unbelievable quality on the ball. He's an incredible teammate. His work rate is next to nothing. He's wearing that number 10, a relatively unknown name in year number 1. In year number 2, he's not getting away with that. Everybody knows who he is. Everybody knows his quality. And I think that this is the San Diego side that just feels like they've got something to prove in year 2. This year 1 wasn't a fluke. They weren't just catching everybody off guard. And yes, no Chucky Lozano, but plenty of other players on this squad that are making their mark. And I think the roster was incredibly well built to truly be no bigger than one individual. It's all about the team. And it's interesting and fascinating listening to Mikey Veras speak about that. In every media availability, that's like his number one concept is the culture and the camaraderie of the team.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've built. Of course, they have their Right to Dream Academy as well that can pay dividends, now and moving forward for the franchise. Kendra D. St. Aubin, Apple TV with us right now against San Diego FC on the road against Sporting Kansas City. What are the expected challenges you would expect to see out of San Diego this year? Again, they just kind of I don't know if it's flash in the pan or however you want to present it, but all of a sudden you look up, they're hosting the Western Conference Final. They're a match or two away from winning the MLS Cup. On one hand, maybe they can use that to their motivation and get that far or further. On the other hand, what are the challenges they might be facing moving ahead here in the second year?
I think the biggest challenge for them would just be understanding that teams will adapt to what they tried to do last year and what they did do and were capable of doing with the way they want to play. They love to have the ball. They have players that love to have the ball, 60+% possession on almost every opportunity in every game they can get. But at the same time, they're completely comfortable in playing on the counter. They're completely comfortable in understanding that they can go to goal quickly. And if you saw the 2 goals they scored in their last game against St. Louis City, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that they can possess and pass the ball around and find their way through, but also understanding that they can counter. They're comfortable in the competition, as I stated, with their goalkeeping situation. So they have a youngster in Fari in there right now, 19 years old, but they also have a veteran on the bench in Cisniega who played in the CONCACAF Champions Cup game. So for this San Diego side, it's just going to be true to yourself. Stay true to yourself, true to your principles, true to what you're trying to accomplish. Understands that teams are going to try to beat you in different ways and contain you in different ways, and just keep evolving and adapting. So it's that sort of a special balance between true to yourself, but also adapting to the moment and what the game gives you and what the opponent gives you. So it's a Mikey Veras like specialty, I think, that he has the ability to do that and get the best out of his players, whether they're young or whether they're veterans. And they're not going to take anybody by surprise this season, but at the same time, I think that they're smart enough to know that they have to be even better at what they're doing and what they're really good at, and especially going forward in the attack.
Yeah, that's really good insight. And now San Diego this weekend on the road, as you know, because you'll be on the call for San Diego and Kansas City. Last year, SDFC was phenomenal on the road, and I know that typically in professional soccer, obviously there's challenges, to get a result on the road as opposed to at home. What do our listeners need to know about Kansas City, their start obviously this year, but what their expectations are as well?
Another new coach in Major League Soccer, and Rafael Wicki. He's coming back to Major League Soccer. He was with Chicago Fire a few years ago, then went back to Europe. So Sporting Kansas City, big transition for them. Peter Vermees had been there for over a decade leading that squad. So you're going to see a different style. He, again, has a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a very well thought out plan of how he wants to play, but he's not married to a specific formation. He's not going to say, oh, we're a 4-3-3, we're this, we're that. He just understands that his players are capable of being diverse, playing in different positions, and moving the ball quickly up the field, understanding that they're not going to sit back, but they're not going to just kick the ball long. Just a very well-rounded head coach. So this is not going to be the Sporting Kansas City team that San Diego saw last year. He's got a lot of the same players, but he's kind of deploying them in different ways. And Dan Jovic, their number 9 up top, just lethal inside the box. You get him anywhere in and around the 18-yard box, and you find him service, and he will score goals for you. I mean, he was a double-digit goal scorer last year, and Sporting Kansas City wasn't even good. So when he was with LA Galaxy before that, and he had a ton of quality service, he was just dominant in and around the 18. So he's a player that San Diego fans should absolutely watch for and keep an eye on. He's number 9 on Sporting Kansas City. A couple of just bigger picture questions for you. Kendra D. St. Aubin with us right now on San Diego Sports 760. Obviously the last time the World Cup was in the States, it kind of was the advent of Major League Soccer, right? That led us to this era that we've seen over the last 20 or 30 years. How do you envision this upcoming World Cup impacting soccer, professional soccer in America? Oh man, there probably isn't anything bigger when you look at something like this. To have a men's World Cup on North American soil with Canada and Mexico as well is going to just catapult this into a whole nother level. Because imagining what it did for Major League Soccer back in '94 and then leading into that World Cup, you think about what it's going to do this season with all the social media platforms, with the 24-hour news cycles. I mean, all those things didn't even exist back then. So this is going to just bring in the entire country. This is going to bring everybody together. It's the fringe soccer fans. It's the hardcore soccer fans, whether you're an EPL fan or you're watching La Liga or you're watching Major League Soccer, whatever league is your league of choice, you will latch onto a team, a player, and then you'll be able to follow them right back into Major League Soccer. You may not even know that, one of these players that plays for your favorite country also plays in this league right here outside your doorstep. So I just think it's going to catapult the league to a whole nother level, even though it's already grown so much in 30 years, 31st season of Major League Soccer. It's going to be fun. And if you've never been a part of it, I mean, just walk down the street during a World Cup, even if it's not on American soil. The bars are jumping, the watch parties. It's insanity. Now that it is on American soil and it's in your time zone, which also can make a big difference. You're not, getting up 6 hours earlier just to catch a game. This is going to be something to behold this summer. The league is technically on pause for games, but I guarantee the league is going to be embracing the World Cup, the stars that are in the World Cup that are playing in this league. Who knows who will come into this league after the World Cup? All eyes are going to be on it, and it's going to be pretty awesome and pretty special.
And specifically, the U.S. men's national team will be playing in the Pacific time zone for pool play coming up here later this year. One more big picture question for you before you go, Kendra, and we appreciate you taking time. What's the impact in your mind of the calendar change that MLS is about to experience on where this league will kind of be globally? Like, what's the global impact for Major League Soccer by aligning itself with the World Game?
Well, it'll be huge in a positive way, because when we look at the global game and the transfer windows and the way they currently fall, it's very challenging for some of these players to come from overseas when their league is on break. They come over here in July, let's say, during the secondary transfer window for Major League Soccer. They've just been on holiday, and no knock on them. They're not in full fit training. They just wrapped up a crazy season. They're taking their time off, and then Major League Soccer is trying to get these guys over here and implement them into one of the most important times of the season, where you're down the stretch. You're trying to make the playoffs. You're trying to get your best seating. You're trying to get home field advantage. That will no longer be a thing. Everybody will be on the same calendar, understanding exactly when the breaks are, exactly when the transfer windows are, understanding that you can get these players and coaches, by the way, if you need to replace a coach, into your system, into your city, into the United States of America, or North America for that matter, including Canada, in a timely manner in a very important time. So this is going to change the game to elevate the league even more. And imagining what Major League Soccer has done in the last 30 plus years, not being on the same calendar as the rest of the world, this is going to be next level, because it will just make the ease of even the guys just coming over here, getting their families over here, getting everybody acclimated, making everybody feel comfortable, kids getting into school, whatever it might be. It will change the game when those transfer windows are lined up with all the other leagues around the world and elevate the level of play even more than it already has. And I think you ask anybody, they're excited about it. And a lot of talk about the weather over here and the climate. I live in Minnesota, for goodness sake. Like, we had a home game here. Minnesota had a home game here last weekend. It was cold, but it's 100% capable. Players can do it. Teams can do it. And it's going to be awesome to see what that does for the league, switching it to that calendar.
You could just play all matches for the league in San Diego year round. If they want to put every franchise here, that's something they can consider.
By the sounds of it, it sounds like San Diego liked to go on the road last year.
Yeah, they did. But
everybody else is scratching their head.
But man, it's not bad when you're playing in February and it's 77 at kickoff or whatever it was recently here in February in San Diego.
Just rub it in. It in. Thanks a lot.
That's a good point. I mean, listen, you kind of pinch yourself when you spend time, obviously. I'm not from San Diego, so when you live in San Diego, it's just a phenomenal place. Kendra, we appreciate you taking time for us. SDFC and Sporting KC coming up on Saturday. You can watch it on Apple TV. You can listen to it right here on San Diego Sports 760. Thank you for taking time for us here today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Brian Dutcher's show coming up at 6 p.m. If you got a question for Dutch, you can text us 70470. Start it with the word team. That's 70470. Start it with the word team. Brent's back page on the other side on San Diego Sports 760. All right, San Diego Sports 760. John Schaefer back with you. Brian Dutcher will join us live as he does each and every Thursday throughout conference play. So he'll join us coming up at 6 p.m. I see your text right now on the text line. If you've got one, you can text us right now. 70470, start it with the word team. Again, 70470, start it with the word team. It is kind of crazy that the regular season ends tomorrow for the Aztecs. The conference tournament begins a week from today for San Diego State. A lot of variance in there. What seed will they be? Who will their quarterfinal opponent be? We'll find that all out in the next 48 hours, basically, because the Aztecs play tomorrow. Then there's more Mountain West games on Saturday. We'll know everything we need to know come the end of Saturday. So Brian Dutcher joins us in 10 minutes. You can text us if you got a question. 70470, start it with team. But right now, let's get to this.
John, do you like M&Ms?
I do. I enjoy M&Ms.
All M&Ms? Do you have a favorite?
Well, the thing to me, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, they're all the same other than the color of their shell, correct?
No.
Or are you saying peanut butter?
You can get peanut butter M&Ms or, chocolate M&Ms.
I would take peanut butter.
I
I would take peanut butter over regular. Let me just say that.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I would take peanut butter over regular. Oh, why? Is there something new coming?
M&M's is reviving its flavor vote, which is going to invite fans to sample limited edition flavors, and then they're going to be able to vote and decide which one deserves to come back later this year. The lineup that you'll be able to choose from are going to include peanut butter cinnamon roll, cherry chocolate cupcake, or lemon meringue pie.
Wow.
Fans will be able to vote online now through May 15th. And then whoever wins, then they're going to bring it back later this year. I don't know if it'll be in like its own separate packaging or they'll just include it with some other kind of M&Ms, kind of like, Skittles has the different flavors, do something like that. So now through May 15th, so you can vote between peanut butter cinnamon roll, cherry chocolate cupcake, or lemon meringue pie.
What would you be voting for?
Probably the peanut butter one,
I agree.
But I don't know, peanut butter and cinnamon.
It's decent. It's probably too cinnamony.
The cherry cupcake sounds good though too.
Lemon meringue. I don't hate that.
I'm usually not a big lemon candy guy though, unless it's like actual lemon drops.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, that's interesting.
Because come on, who opens up their Starburst packet and is like, yes, a yellow.
Right, exactly. That's interesting. All right, what else you got?
Wendy's put out a very interesting job offer today. Wendy's put out an offer for a chief tasting officer, which is going to pay $100K a year for Wendy's chief tasting officer. Their applications, they're going to stop taking applications on March 30th at midnight. Wendy's is hiring for a new position. They say through the contest, they're looking to hire a quote chief tasting officer who will take on an independent contractor role of the fast food chain and a $100,000 salary. The grand prize winner will be hired to create promotional content for Wendy's, such as taste testing videos.
Okay.
So pretty much you'll just get paid to eat Wendy's and to make like TikTok videos. They said they might even put you in some Wendy's commercials.
How much does this pay?
$100,000.
Oh, 100. Yeah. I didn't know that's like the best job in the world.
I think it is. There's three. Well, I love Wendy's. There's 3 ways to enter the contest. They all involve submitting a video. Entrants must create up to a 60-second video in which they explain why you, and this is in all caps, why you need the opportunity to become Wendy's chief tasting officer. Wendy's encourages entrants to use Wendy's branding, food products, or their restaurants in their videos.
Wow.
So you want to score points, go shoot your video inside of a Wendy's.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's a good gig. I like that. What else you have?
I have one more, but it's half of a Jim story. I just think it's a good idea, but it's just not in the States.
Yeah.
The Wendy's thing, I almost wonder if they're doing this to mock the McDonald's guy. You saw that?
I did see that. Yes, I did see that.
the McDonald's guy was taste testing that big arch, and he kept calling it a product. And you could tell that he was like grossed out by just picking up the burger, and he took like the smallest bite.
I saw that.
Kind of wins. Well, Burger King, their CEO came out with a video like this week mocking him, where he took a bite of the new improved Whopper and took like this massive bite. Five Guys owner and CEO, he did a video where they were tasting their burger where they mocked the McDonald's guy. So I almost wonder if this is the tasting officer. So I'm almost wondering if this is Wendy's subliminal way of throwing shade at that McDonald's CEO.
I agree with you completely.
And speaking of McDonald's, and this is only in Indonesia, that's why I wasn't going to do it, but I think it's an interesting idea. Would you, I know your wife won't want to, but would you ever want to have your wedding catered by McDonald's?
I mean, it's unique because nobody really would do that. I mean, what if McDonald's was picking up the tab
for $233?
Yeah. Because that's like a plate, right?
McDonald's in Indonesia is offering a wedding catering package that includes, which they don't have these in America, but 100 chicken burgers, 100 4-packs of McNuggets, and the cost for the entire package is 3.5 million Indonesian rupiahs, but that only equals about $233.
Wow. I think,
like I said, it's not here, but it's something that I would do.
Yeah.
Because I love McDonald's. And I hate weddings. So if I went to a wedding and they're like, "Dude, McDonald's is coming later," I'd be like, "Dude, this is the best wedding ever."
I mean, it's unique. Like, it's how many weddings do you go to where they're serving McDonald's, and for $233, I think you could convince a lot of people, honestly. All right, Brian Dutcher is joining us on the other side of a break for the Brian Dutcher Show. He joins us live. And if you've got a question for him, you can text us 70470. Start it with the word team. 70470. Start it with the word team. Brian Dutcher on the other side. If you missed anything today, sportsSD.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. For Sammy, who was here earlier, and Brent, I'm John. Brian Dutcher Show next on San Diego Sports 760.